knowledge you can't get in colleges. If you read from the Bible, obey the commandment and know who your mother and father is. Tune in to sa.neter, cause he the protector of the gods. I'm talking about Dr. Benjamin, Yusuf, Yacanan, and John. We got the scale of my art. If he light as a feather, let's go and weigh his heart. I am the shrine of Ptah. If you say I am, better recognize a god. All I see is pseudos and frauds. Kudos to my dogs. Judo for you frogs. I think it's time to hop off the environment. Oh, you didn't know? It's environment tough. Oh, you didn't know? It's environment tough. Oh, you didn't know? It's environment tough. Oh, you didn't know? It's environment tough.
Will survive. Comedic knowledge on the rise. Raising consciousness divine. To the truth we subscribe. Jabari leading the way. Shaka Amos don't play. sa.neter done open the gates. And up and banging the day. It's a family for the culture. Rebuking all you vultures. Service environment full of soldiers. Unlock your mind, they'll expose you. HOK is the squad. Debating the truth is a nod. Watch where you step in the pod. Or the tear you apart.
Oh, you didn't know? It's environment tough. 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 Environment tough. Environment tough. Environment tough.
Yeah. Peace and Black Power, family. What's going on? Peace and Black Power. Man, it's a lot of things going on. Just want to let y'all in on a little something. I got a call from Pastor Bennett early this morning. Woke me up. He said he want Elder Yara to step up to the plate, being that he got so much talk. Anybody, hey, Elder Yara, give me a call. Somehow you done changed numbers on me, and I don't have your phone number anymore. Give me a call, brother. All right, man, give me a call, Elder Yara. Without any further ado, we got the most feared Israelite sitting down with me this afternoon. And the reason I call them the most feared is because there are a lot of Israelites, Old Testament and New Testament, scared to sit down with this man, scared to have a discussion, scared to have a debate with this man. But for somehow he was fortunate to sit down with Bishop Nathanyel. And I seen some of that interview. And I must say that, the brother was definitely on his A game. Ron Dolton was definitely, tapping him a little bit in the jaw. You could see he was bothered by the questions and by the attack that the brother came with the information. So without any further ado, I would like to first ask you, brother, before we even get into that, let me ask you this, brother. Before we even get into all of that, Hebrews to Negroes, your film speaks about blacks of the transatlantic slave trade being the true Israelites of black people. Question: if blacks are the real Jews, then who are the people of Israel who say they are the real Jews today?
They are a mixture of the descendants of Japheth, one of Noah's sons, and they also have some Edomite admixture. And I broke that down on the YouTube live I did with Lawrence, I think it was on Saturday, and broke down how the DNA of Esau crept into Israel along with the Neanderthal man and the Horites, and how the Edomites were the ones that traveled to Central Asia and the Pontic steppes in the old territory of Khazaria. And they're the ones that introduced their Judaism or Phariseeism or Esau's Judaism to the Khazars, the Khazarians that were the descendants of Japheth, living, in that region of the world.
Hold on for 1 minute. Hold on for 1 minute. Can everybody hear the brother? Because I got one comment that say he talking low. We can't really hear him. Does that go for everybody else in here? Because it could just be that person. Can y'all hear him?
I can talk louder.
A little bit. All right. So they saying, yeah, they can hear you. So just talk up a little bit so that people can hear you and make this knowledge born, make it clean. We got one of the biggest cube in the audience, so we got to be wary of that. Cube is in the audience. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah.
The biggest on YouTube, Cube is in the audience.
Okay, so back in the ancient times, the Neanderthals, they're the ones that lived and dwelled in Israel inside the caves and outside the caves. Just as the word Horite or Kor in Hebrew means a cave or a den, and Sair or Seer means hairy, shaggy, and also can mean demon, devil, fawn, whatever. And so when you put those two words together in Hebrew, it means shaggy, hairy, cave dweller. And the Israeli studies show that nowhere else in the world do you see where two species of I guess, humans existed, meaning the Homo neanderthalis and Homo sapiens. They existed in one place more than any other place in the world, and that is in Israel. And so they went inside the caves, they were outside the caves, and they said the Neanderthals were living outside the caves, having a good time. They were living inside the caves, having a good time. And they found Homo sapiens skulls in the caves and outside the caves. So they said that these people were mixing together because after a period of time, they saw hybridization of the skulls. So the skulls not only show features of Homo sapiens, but features of the Neanderthal, like the thick brow that the Neanderthals have, and the robust jaw. And they said, well, this means that they were mixing together inside the caves and outside the caves. In the story of the Bible with Esau and Jacob, Esau left the land of Canaan, and he went far away from his brother, and then went and dwelled with the Horites and started living with him. And then he married a Horite woman named Timnah, and from that they had Amalek. And Amalek was one of the antagonists and key enemies of Israel during the Exodus. Like Amalek was, attacking the Israelites that were lagging behind. They were tired, fatigued. They didn't have faith. They were not keeping up with the rest of the camp. And Amalek smoked those people in the Exodus that were just trying to survive. They were just lagging along, just way behind the group. And so then after a period of time, you see that Amalek's children, or Esau's children, they spread their Phariseeism into the Pontic steppes. And the way that they got there is from the Mediterranean Sea, the Aegean Sea, the Turkish Straits, which is the entry point into the Black Sea. The Black Sea takes you to Ukraine. Once you get off the Black Sea in Ukraine, now you're in the Pontic steppes in the territory of the Khazarian people. And when you look at the Black Sea and the Sea of the Khazars, or the Caspian Sea, this is where the Khazars are living at. And so Esau helped bring his Judaism, aka Phariseeism, to the Khazarian king, and then he and his nation of people, they converted to Judaism, Esau's Judaism. And then over a period of time, of course, with all the fighting with the other Japhetic tribes, they migrated slowly to the west, entering into Europe, Eastern Europe, like Germany and Poland, Hungary, Austria. And so this is when you see before 1948 that the state of Israel was created, and these Japhetic converted to Judaism Jews came to Israel and started, the creation of the state of Israel in 1948. So in the Jews today, you'll see that they are a mixture of different haplogroups, meaning they have different forefathers because their Y DNA haplogroups are not just one. Like Black people in America or Jamaica or in West Africa, they have different haplogroups like E1B1B, R1A, R1B, J1, J2, G. It's just like they just got like an array of skills of haplogroups because they come from different forefathers. The majority of them, their stock is the Japhetic races, the
Let
white
me ask
races.
you a question. I want to ask you a series of questions of who are these people today. So I want to ask you first of all, who are the Japhites today?
Yeah, so the children of Japheth, they are what the history books will call Proto-Europeans. So the progenitor of the Europeans were the children of Japhet. Also, when we look at the landmass of the northern hemisphere, because Japheth, essentially lived in the north. So when you go from Greenland and Iceland and the British Isles, you go to Western Europe, Eastern Europe, Scandinavia, you get to Asia Minor, you get into Pontic steppes, and then into Russia, and then all the way going down into far Asia, like Mongolia and China and these Asian nations. All these lands were the children of Japhet. Even of course Rome, Italy, and Greece, and all these other little islands of the sea north of Africa. These were all the descendants of Japheth's children. So today, when you look at the many languages today that like the Romance languages, like Italian and Latin, Spanish and Portuguese, you look at the Germanic languages, the Celtic languages, the Slavic languages, the Turkic languages, the Uralic languages, the Sino-Tibetan languages, the Yeniseivan languages of the Siberians. All of these languages, even the Korean languages, all these languages are connected to a Japhetic source. They're not Shemitic like Shem. They're not Hamitic like African languages. So their tongues are not African. Their languages are not Shemitic. We should all know this because the Japhetic languages are not Shemitic at all. And therefore, they are the descendants of, when you look at Magog and Meshach and Tubal,
Okay.
and Tyrus and Togarmah, even Paras was a child of Japhet. He became
All right.
gender of these Persians. So
Good.
yeah, that's
Let me
all.
ask you, do you hear me? Let me ask you this one. Who is Esau today?
Okay, so Esau, in the beginning, everybody knows this, that knows their Bible. He intermarried with the Canaanites, just like Jacob did. And he also intermarried with one of the daughters of Ishmael, a black Arab, a black Ishmaelite. Then, we see in the scriptures that, we see evidence of Hadad the Edomite and his Edomite brothers. They left so-called, the land of Israel, which they say is the Middle East, and they came into Egypt, and Hadad, he married the daughter of the Pharaoh at the time, not the daughter, but the Pharaoh's wife's sister. So the Pharaoh had a wife, and she had a sister, and Hadad the Edomite married this lady named Taphanes, the sister of the Pharaoh. So now Esau is now married to a lineage that's related to the queen mother of ancient Egypt. And so they had a son named Genubath. Now remember this. Let's just say that queen that Hadad the Edomite married the sister, let's say she died and she didn't have any kids, then based on a lot of the Egyptian royal bloodline, that the next person that was related to the queen mother, which would be her sister, if her sister had a child with somebody and had a son, then that son would be eligible for being a pharaoh. So when we read, I think it's 1 Kings 10, that child, Genubath, whose father was Hadad the Edomite, he was raised and groomed in the royal house of the pharaohs of Egypt. So now we see that even the Edomites back in that time period, BC, they had some people that were running and living in Egypt. The guy could basically say, well, my auntie was the queen of Egypt because his wife was the sister of the queen of Egypt. So any of Hadad Edomite's children that were living in Egypt could say, yeah, you got a problem with me? Well, my auntie is the queen of Egypt.
All right, hold on here. Hold on here. So you're saying that Esau today, the children of Esau today, are not the white man, but it is the children of Japheth.
I'm gonna break it down.
So this is why they're afraid to even challenge this brother on this topic. They've been running from him. But now, man, because all this time I'm thinking is Esau who posed to be the Europeans today.
No, so Esau in the beginning, he was in the Bible, he was marrying people that were black, they were melanated. Shemites, like Ishmaelites, like black Arabs that we see in Sudan, North Sudan, and also Canaanites, like African pygmies. And then he intermarried with the Egyptians. It was in 1 Kings 10. No, not 1 Kings 10, but it's in there. But anyway, then as the Bible ended in the Old Testament, we see the era when the Greeks and the Romans started to conquer the northern part of Africa, like Egypt and Libya and the Vandalic Punic Wars. And so Esau, those Edomites that were in that region, the Herodians, they did intermarry with some of the royal family of the Greeks and the Romans. And if they did so, then you would have had, biracial looking children. And then if Esau, let's say when they say that the temple or Esau's Jerusalem fell by the Romans, then if Esau's seed would have left and went anywhere, it would have either had to been in north into Europe or into Arabia or into North Africa. And if he would have intermixed with any other lighter skinned races, whether they're from Japhet or biracial Shemites, then Esau's seed will be mixed now with the children of Japhet, but not all the children of Japhet. So we got to understand that Esau's seed did not impregnate all the white women of Europe that existed and lived in Europe prior to Abraham's birth. So before Abraham was even born, white people were already living all throughout Europe. And the Chinese civilization, they had civilizations dating back to 3000, 2000 BC, even before that. So how can Esau come along way down the family tree and then replace 3,000 years of white people living all across the northern hemisphere in Europe, all the way going into China? How can he do that? He could not do that. And that's the thing. We have to understand that prior to Esau being even born, Africans lived in Africa. Shemites lived in, like the Middle East area, in the Indus Valley region. The children of Japhet, the Proto-Europeans, lived in Europe. They lived in Central Asia. They lived in Asia. They lived in Asia Minor. They lived in the Caucasus Mountain region. These are civilizations that predate Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Esau. They were already living there. They already had cultures and civilizations and languages and DNA haplogroups. So when Esau comes along, you can't say that Esau is a progenitor of these haplogroups that white people had if these haplogroups existed thousands of years before Esau was even born. It doesn't make sense. You cannot make this stuff up. So the scientific part of it and the historical part of it debunks their whole teachings. But the thing is, they're basing what they're teaching on a theory, and it's not backed by any solid evidence. And when you get down to the formal sciences and you study linguistics and anthropology and archaeology and genetics and all these things, they run from that because they know that it can debunk a lot of their core doctrines. And the only cop out that they have is we can't trust the white man's science.
See, what it is that you going against the grain. When you go against it, you're going against the one Westers, you're going against the Israelites, you're going against the apostles, and that's gonna bring trouble to you, brother. But guess what? None of them want to step up and challenge your information. So that right there tells me something different. It tells me that you are onto something because nobody want to stand up and challenge you.
They don't want to smoke.
Yeah, man.
Listen. Back in the day, they would say we are the prophets, we are the priests, we are the sons of God. We have the truth. If you're not with our camp, you're not teaching truth. Like these guys, they don't know what they're talking about.
Real quick. You said we need to. He need to debate Captain Tazariak. Let me just say this. Y'all know I love my captain. But Captain is the first one I called today, and Captain told me he don't want to debate him. Captain said he said I don't want to debate Ron Dolton. Now I don't know what reasons Captain had for that. That's on him. Maybe we can bring him on the show.
I know the reason.
Go ahead.
Here, this is the thing. A long time ago, a lot of the camps were teaching that all Africans are Hamites. They were saying Africans are these African booty snatchers. They're all Hamites. You're not gonna make it to the kingdom. You're not us. You can't marry our sons and daughters. Get out of here. You're not the same bloodline as us. We're the Israelites. You're dirty African Hamites. This is what the prophets, the priests, and the sons of God of these Israelite camps used to say. And they're saying that they're prophets. But now a lot of them, like IUIC, is going into Africa and going to Kenya and South Africa, and they're on the YouTube channel saying all Africans are Israelites except the Nilots. Now, how can you 5 to 10 years ago say that all Africans are Hamites, and then now in 2025 you're telling the people in Africa that all Africans from the continent of Africa are Israelites except the Nilots? This is confusing doctrine. So the prophets of these camps 5 to 10 years ago, they said one thing and then they said another thing. So did the Most High change? Did he give an addendum and let the prophets know, hey, I made an addendum and you need to tell the people now that all people in Africa are not Hamites, they're Israelites? No, so either God is lying or man is lying. Either God is confused and he's wavering, he's unstable in his mind and what he believes in, or man is unstable and is wavering on what he's teaching and believing in. Because this is what they do right now. And listen, Bishop Nathanyel, he said, I said, who are the children of Magog, Meshach, Tubal, Togarmah, and in Ezekiel 38? And he said, oh, well, I'm going to give you an answer. And then he went to some scriptures. He's drinking his cup. He's saying things that don't make sense. It's just beating around the bush. And then he says, the Caucasus Mountain region people, the Caucasians, the Scythians, that's them. And I'm saying, okay, so they're white, they're Europeans. I thought you just said they're Edomites. You said Europeans are Edomites, right? Yes, but you just said now that these Caucasians in the Caucasus Mountain region and Scythia, they're the children of Japheth. So which one is it? And then he says, oh, no. The people down in the Pacific Islands, the black people with wavy curly hair, there's some of them are them too. I'm saying, well, wait a minute. So Japheth is black and white? So Japheth had children that were black and white? That's like me having a child that's black and then having a child that's white, and then at the age of 18, this child looks like a white person, this child looks like a black person, like an African. It doesn't happen in reality. In reality, black African people do not have a child that looks white, the other one looks black, and 20 years later, this child looks like Donald Trump or Mark Zuckerberg, and this child over here looks like Bernie Mac or Jada Kiss. It doesn't happen in reality.
Who is Ham today?
Okay, so Ham had 4 sons. He had Mitzrayim or Kemet or the Egyptians, who today have done a lot of mixing with the other nations like the Israelites. But you can see them in.
Hold up, you said he had.
He did a lot of mixing. No,
he had Kemet?
No, the Egyptians. The Greek word is, read the word Egyptian, but the Kemetic word is Kemet, and the Hebrew word is
Ham. Hold on, let me get clarity. Ham,
yeah.
The Egyptians come out of Ham, the Kemetics.
Yes, 4 sons come out of Ham.
But hold on, man. Isn't it true that, but isn't it true that the Kemetics, the ancient Kemetic people was here before there was the Ham, Shem, and Japheth, before there was a Bible, before there was even something called Israel? This is what I don't get now.
Okay, Noah had 3 sons. The flood story talks about 3 sons. You can find this in India, you can find this in China, you can find this in Sumeria, you can find this in the Hebrew culture. He had 3 sons, Noah did. Ham, Shem, and Japheth.
Mm-hmm.
Out of Ham came the African lineages, such as the Egyptians, the Kushites, the Canaanites, and the Puttites. Now, in ancient times, it wasn't called Libya, it was the land of Put. In ancient times, it wasn't the land of Nubia, it was the land of Cush for the Hebrews. In ancient times, for the Hebrews, that land or the people were called Mitzrayim, but in the people themselves were called Kemet, or black people, but the Hebrews didn't call them Kemet. The Hebrews called them Mitzrayim because they speak the Hebrew language. And then the children of Canaan were the ones that lived in the southern part of the land of Africa, outside of the land of Cush, Sudan, the land of Egypt, and the land of Put, Libya. So the Egyptians today are scattered. They're in Ethiopia, they're in, say, Kenya, they're in Tanzania, they're in Uganda, they're in Sudan. They're even scattered amongst people that are Bantu in other parts of Africa. And the reason why we know it, even in Somaliland. So the reason why we know is because the ancient DNA studies of the ancient Egyptian pharaohs, their DNA haplogroups can be seen on the father side, can be seen in the Luau people or the Akoli people that are scattered throughout Uganda, the Congo, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Kenya. Some of their DNA of the ancient Egyptians can be seen in the Somalis, the ones that prior to mixing with Shemitic people like Ishmael, you can see these in the Dur clan in Somalia or the Esau clan in Somalia. All these different haplogroups that we saw, even the ancient pharaohs, they have DNA that is seen coming from the land of Sudan or Cush. So you see the Y DNA A3B2 in ancient Egypt in the pharaohs. You'll see EM96. You'll see EM75. You'll see some haplogroups that are seen in the Dogon tribes and the Fulanis in Africa. So the Egyptians, the pharaohs, they have DNA haplogroups that today can be found in Africans in Africa. And the Kushites in Sudan, the original Kushites in Sudan, are the Nilots that are in South Sudan, like the Dinka, the Shillik, the Anawat, the Nuer, the Nuba. They're tall and they're dark skinned in Sudan. They're cattle herders. They got a lot of cattle. and then the Puttites, the descendants of the ancient Libyans, are your Hausas, your Fulani, your Tuaregs, your black Muslim Africans that are seen in the Sahel region of Mali and Burkina Faso and Niger and Chad and Upper Nigeria, Upper Ghana, Upper Cameroon. These black Muslims that have a different DNA than so-called Negroes or Bantu, these are your Kushite, Puttite admixtures in these Sahel lands. Because remember, in the northern part of Africa, the major population and face of North Africa is the white Arabs. The white Arabs are the major face of Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco. You can just Google it. You can Google it and you'll see, Google Libya people and you'll see all these Arabs. Google Liberian, Google Tunisian people, you'll see all these Arabs. You say Google Algerian people, you'll see all these white Arabs. You see Google Moroccan people, you'll see number of white Arabs. You Google Egyptian people, you'll see white Arabs. So the true descendants of Mitzrayim or Kemet or Put from North Africa or Northeast Africa are seen now further south in Africa, like the Sahel, going all the way towards Sudan and Somaliland, and also in the African Great Lakes and parts of South Africa. When you're looking at the ancient Egyptians and how they intermarried with the Bantu people for many, many, many years and left with them. A lot of them left with the Bantu people and migrated south into the interiors of Africa. And this is why when they do autosomal STR studies, genetic studies, to see who today has the genetics that closely align with the ancient Egyptians and their DNA, you're going to see it in the Horn of Africa. You're going to see it in the African Great Lakes. You're going to see it in South Africa. Because why? Because the ancient Egyptians migrated to these areas. And on top of that, when they were constantly living amongst the Hebrews and mixing with the Hebrews back and forth, there was socialization going on. So imagine if you have a Hebrew father and an Israelite mother, or you have an Egyptian father and an Israelite mother. And Moses says, we're leaving Egypt. Look at all the plagues that's been happening in Egypt. Are you going to stay here or are you going to leave?
Now, hold on. Let me get this straight. You said that the Kemetics was living amongst the Israelites.
Well,
the Israelites living amongst them.
Yes, the Israelites were living amongst the...
But I need you to answer this question. Isn't it true that Kemet already been doing this thing before there was Ham, before there was Japhet, before all of this stuff, before there was a Bible?
No. Kemet
probably already in his ruins when this stuff started happening.
Here's the thing. Kemet does not predate the Sumerians, the Akkadians. Kemet does not predate the Harappan civilization in India. Hold on. Kemet does not predate the ancient Chinese civilization, because you can look at a lot of the pottery, DNA, language, or they'll call it calligraphy, where it's like almost like a fancy writing. That's how they call the Chinese writing. They call it calligraphy, whatever it's called. But anyway, in the Hebrews, they call it pictographs or hieroglyphics. So when you look at the ancient Chinese civilization, the ancient Indus Valley civilization, like the Harappan, you look at the ancient Sumerian Akkadian civilization, you will see that these civilizations date back to 4,000, 5,000 BC, same as ancient Kemet. So ancient Kemet was not the only people just around at the time, with nobody else living around the same time period. And the reason why is because there were other nations that came off the boat: Ham, Shem, and Japheth.
Okay, let me just say this, right? The Hebrew Israelites may be afraid to face you, But I got two champions over here at the House of Consciousness, and we can do it for the people. One, I have Sister Nepal Shada, and two, I have Brother Jabari Oaz, who would love to have this debate with you, dealing with Kemet and in Israel. You know, I mean, what's up with that?
Listen, listen, I'm gonna say it one time.
Yeah.
African Americans, Caribbean blacks, Bantu people, we are the Israelites. Paternally, by bloodline, pedigree, by our father's lineage, we are the progenitor of the Israelites. Now, he could say that, no, we're the progenitors of the ancient Egyptians, meaning that our ancestors are the people that founded ancient Egypt. He could say that all day long, but he's going to lose that debate, hands down. If he wants to take that loss in front of all the Kemetic community, then he can. But the Kemetic community is basically owns all the nails into the coffin right now. The Kemetic community is done. Like, we've already been there past that. So Jabari wants to try to come out the coffin and challenge Ron Dalton. I'm gonna put him back in the coffin and nail him, throw him down 12 feet deep, put the dirt and everything. He's done. Like this.
Come on now, like, dog. Come on, man.
Damn, hey Ron, you ain't playing. You coming hard. Pause on this one right here. You calling out the top dogs, man. I respect that from you, brother. But what do you think about Nepal Shada?
I don't know who that is. Who is that? I never heard of that person.
Sister, that's a woman. Do you debate women?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, she can get it too.
I'm sure man. Okay.
You're entitled to have your own opinions, beliefs, and views, but you're not entitled to have facts, because facts is the facts. You know, the sky is blue, water's wet. Lions are indigenous to Africa. They're not indigenous to the Americas. These are facts. These are straight facts. You cannot debate facts. You can say, well, I don't believe that the Hebrews existed. Well, there's a Hebrew language, and we could trace back to 2000 BC. There's Hebrew traditions and customs. There's Hebrew script. So what are you talking about? The Hebrews didn't exist. Well, what is this language and script that we're looking at right here? It's the Hebrew script and the Hebrew language. And just like the Hebrew Bible has all these traditions and customs that's in the Torah, why are the Bantu people practicing all these Hebrew traditions and customs? Why are they doing this? Just for the fun of it? Who taught them this? How did they learn this? Is this the same Hebrew traditions and customs that the ancient Egyptians practiced? Because I don't see the 613 laws of Moses in the Book of the Dead or the pyramid text or the coffin text or the emerald tablets. I don't see it there. So we have to start to acknowledge that in Africa, there were people that were other than the Egyptians. The Egyptians had their hieroglyphics, yes. They had their writing, yes. They had their culture, yes. They had their civilization, yes. They had their gods, yes. They had all these things, yes. But at the same time, there were the Hebrews that also had their own writing system, language, traditions, custom, religion based on monotheism, you know, and all this paganism that they learned from the other nations. And the Hebrews, like the Bible says, they did intermarry with the daughters of Canaan, the daughters of Cush, the daughters of Kemet or Mitzrayim. They did. It's there. So she can debate, Jabari can debate, but both of them are going to be defeated.
Okay, brother. I see you standing on your ground. That's what's up. I respect that. Let me ask you this question. Is salvation for all nations or just Israel?
No, the camps, like Nathanyel said, he said the angels are going to gather the Israelites on one side and everybody else going to be on the other side. The Israelites are going to go into the kingdom. They're going to have eternal life. You know, they're going to be blessed with the paradise and the kingdom and the goodness and the fatness of the land and slaves and all this other stuff. But everybody else, from the time you are born, you are destined to hell, eternal lake of fire. There's no hope for you. So why would God have prophets, and why we have different nations, and these other nations, when they're born, they're predestined to already immediate judgment in hell. It's like you're not giving them a fair chance. No, you're not. How could God not give the rest of the world a fair chance? By saying, if you're born under the lineage of Jacob, you're going to make it to the kingdom.
I like that.
Everybody else is born. You're born as a baby. What? The baby's going to go to hell when he dies. So the baby should do whatever he wants. He can have sex with an animal. He can have sex with the same sex. He could kill, steal, loot, rob. Because at the end of the day, his judgment's already sealed. So why do these other nations have to follow any laws and be good people when at the end of the day, God is not going to judge you because you've already been judged. You've been judged from the moment you were born to go to hell, to be punished forever. So a lot of this, these teachings that they teach that, only Israel is going to be saved. That's all, to me, it's like a cultic type of scenario, a situation where you were telling people that only us. You say, well, who's us? Is it black people? No, it's the Hispanics, Latinos, Native Americans, and whoever we say are the Israelites. You guys got the eternal life. Everybody else, y'all going to hell. So we gotta start using our brain. And if people really follow a lot of these camps, even Gentiles, and they say that these camps are loving camps and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, if you are a Gentile or a white person and you follow the camps and you say that they're loving people, they are upright, righteous people, but then they're telling you in their teachings that you're not going to make it to eternal life. You're not going to enter the kingdom. If anything, you're going to be a slave and a servant in the kingdom or on the new earth, and your fate has already been sealed. There's no hope for you. So salvation ain't for you. So why would anybody that's not an Israelite follow these type of Israelite organizations and camps if they're already telling you that you're doomed? So
right.
You know what that means basically? That means that if your DNA test shows that you have the DNA of a white man on your father's side, that means that you're not an Israelite. You can look black. You can be brown, dark brown, light skinned, but you get your DNA test and it does not say an African tribe. It says that your DNA is connected to Europe and some tribe in Europe. That means that somewhere down your family tree there was a white man, and you may say you're an Israelite, but your DNA says not. So a lot of these Israelites, whether they're they phenotypically look black, they classify as black, a lot of them may have DNA that says that you are a descendant of a white man. So therefore, if you're white, I guess because of the camp doctrine, if you're white, you're an Edomite, but still then only Israelites are going to be saved. So even if you are the brother of Jacob, you ain't going to be saved because you're not an Israelite. So this is the stuff that I just shake my head because there's thousands and thousands, if not millions, of Israelites today that are being taught this. They believe this, and this kind of doctrine is even being taught in Africa and beyond. When the different camps go to these other countries like Papua New Guinea, Australia, Fiji, Hawaii, the Melanesia, Solomon Islands, and if they're there teaching the 12 tribes chart, only Israel's going to be saved. The Gentiles are going to be servants in the kingdom. They're going to go to hell. Is there any salvation for us? No, there's not. Only Israel going to be saved. Then this is the kind of teachings that the black people in these other countries are going to start teaching their children. And when the Gentiles start to hear about this, they're like, man, these guys are basically saying that you guys are the only ones going to make it, and everybody else is going to hell. And I don't like to teach on that because I believe that people all have a chance for eternal life or the kingdom, or whatever they believe their afterlife is going to give them. And some people might say it's based on works, but depending on your religion and if you believe in the New Testament or not, then there is some type of grace that your deity or God gives you. At least in Christianity, the Most High in Christ does have grace for His people.
Okay. I just got off the phone with Jabari, And he said, yes, he would love to have this discussion with you. He said, you can talk your talk, but he's not Captain Tazoriak. He's not none of these Hebrews you sat down with. It's a whole different story when you sit with him. But let me ask you, what is your biggest objection when it comes to the Israelite camps who originated from One West, such as ISUPK, IUIC, GMS, and AOC?
Well, a lot of okay, not only those camps, but you have your GOCC. It's a lot of camps here. We teach that they were the Israelites, and that's fine. But then, what does it profit a man to know that he's the Israelite, but then he doesn't know where his true homeland is? He doesn't know how his people are going to fulfill the prophecies in the Bible that it states that only the Israelites can fulfill. Now, if the fulfillment of prophecy is surrounding us getting back to our homeland, like it says in Isaiah and Ezekiel, and Revelations and others, then we need to really investigate the facts on where is the true Holy Land, where is the land of Canaan, where is the land of Israel, where is Jerusalem? Because don't think that if the white man or the Gentiles or Satan is clever enough to deceive us and hide from us the knowledge of who we are, meaning our identity of us being the Israelites, then don't think that these same people can hide from you the true location of Israel, Jerusalem, Mount Zion, and the Holy Land. Because why? If you do not know where your homeland is, then how can you fulfill the prophecies? If you don't know that you're standing on the land known as the land of Canaan, and this area that you're living in is Jerusalem, and this mountain that you're living in the village, and you can look at it and say that's the high mountain right there. We call it this mountain, but it's Mount Zion. And when you go to Israel and you say, well, where's Mount Zion? They say, well, you're standing in Mount Zion. Like, what? Like, this is Mount Zion? Like, yeah. Well, I don't see no high mountain. Well, it's Mount Zion. Well, I don't see a high mountain. People got to start asking questions. Why am I standing in Jerusalem or the Armenian Quarter, and we're taking a stroll from the Armenian Quarter through Zion's Gate, and we're walking? And it's like in the Bible, it says there's a mountain called Mount Zion, and it's a high mountain, beautiful in elevation. And you ask your guide or somebody there, say, hey, where's Mount Zion at? He's like, we're on Mount Zion right now. You're like, what? We're on Mount Zion? Yes, it's Mount Zion. People got to pay attention to these things. Like the Bible tells us that Mount Zion is a very, very high mountain. And it says that the land of Canaan is a land of high mountains, not hills, not mounds. No, mountains with summits like Mount Everest, Mount Kenya, Mount Kilimanjaro. And the Bible even tells us that Jerusalem, which is a land or territory that Yah provides peace, rest, quietness, and safety and security, that this land or territory, so-called Jerusalem, is surrounded like a circle by mountains. So all around Jerusalem is surrounded by high mountains. It says this in Psalms 125, verse 1 through 2. It says this. But when you go to Jerusalem today and look around, you don't see tall mountains all around you, 360 degrees. You don't see this. And sa.neter, you already know that the Bible says it's a land of mountains, hills, valleys, lakes, streams, rivers, waterfalls, and the land drinketh the rain from heaven, water above, water below, like the Garden of Eden. The Most High's eyes are upon it all year round. It's the glory of all the land. The Most High said he searched the whole world and selected this piece of land. It is a large land. It is a wide land. It is an abundant land. But when you look at Israel, it's the size of New Jersey. And it's an arid, dry desert land.
Yeah, let me ask you, do you see the men of these camps chosen by the Most High?
We all have a purpose in this life. And whether it's good or bad, the Most High is going to do his will and pleasure. Now, the only good thing I see a lot of the camps doing is awakening us to know that we are not just so-called Negroes, that we are the Israelites. But one of the things the camps and a lot of Israelite organizations fail to do is to lead us further into truth, to where we can start connecting the dots and actually walking and living the prophecies of the Bible. Because at the end of the day, if we are the Israelites, then only we can fulfill the prophecies. Nobody else. The other nations are going to be doing exactly what the Bible says they're going to do. But until we wake up to all the key critical points that we need to know, so that we can come together as the two sticks, like in the dry bones prophecy, like we can allow the land to yield its fruit for us and not the Gentiles and coming to Africa and plundering and looting and getting rich off of Africa. Until we can find a way that we can not bear the shame of the heathen and be hungry in the land of Canaan. Like, why do Black people in Africa have to go through unemployment and starvation and hunger and poverty when the land of Canaan in sub-Saharan Africa has everything in it? This is why the Bible says that we are going to bear the shame of the heathen, and we're going to be hungry in our own land, and the land is not going to yield its fruit for us, because we don't understand yet that we are the Israelites and this is our land. And the Bible tells us that we have to come back together, the two sticks becoming one. No more jealousy, no more envy, unity. And on top of that, the Bible tells us that we need to be on guard and be prepared and prepare all of us that are together, assembled together for particular nations. And the Bible tells us who these nations, well, the Bible explains to us who these nations are. And these nations are none other than the Chinese, the Russians, the white Arabs, the white Jews, the European nations, the East Indians. Yes, all these nations, the Most High told us that they were going to one day in the future come to the land of unwalled villages, to a people dwelling neither having bars nor gates, dwelling in peace, rest, and safety. And the Bible says that these nations are going to have an evil eye or evil agenda and an evil thought and an evil scheme. And they are going to come to Africa to plunder, to steal, to loot, and to prey upon the people, meaning the Israelites, meaning sub-Saharan Africans, and their livestock, their chickens, their farms, their arable land, their water resources, their timber, their oil, their natural gas, their silver, their gold, their cobalt, their coltan, their aluminum, their iron, their zinc, their tin, their copper, their uranium. It says this in the Bible, that they're going to prey upon all of this and steal and loot it with a great spoil.
Let me ask you. Go ahead, say what you were saying, what you was getting ready to say.
I said, where on the world is this happening today? It's happening in sub-Saharan Africa, not Israel.
Okay.
Not Israel.
Let me ask you this question. Do you have any comments to share with us regarding IUIC being traced out of Africa recently in South Africa?
Well, they could have done it. See, they did it. They should have done it a different way. They should have had like a conference or a workshop or a revival. They call it a crusades. In Africa, they usually call it either a crusade or a revival. They should have had that and used the title of the crusade or the revival to attract the Christian community in Kenya. And they could have the indoor, outdoor, and a tent, and they could start teaching those that are willing to come to that revival and the crusade and what the topic is about. They already see the topic and they say, okay, this topic sounds interesting. Let me come to this crusade or revival, whether it's indoors or outdoors. And there they can start talking to them about the history of the Bible, how it connects to Africa, the things that are happening right now, how it relates to the past and the present, letting them know that you have an identity and your identity is not African, it's not Kenyan. Yes, you may have a tribe, but at the end of the day, where can we find evidence of this tribe 3,000 years ago? Where is it at? Where is it at? And so when you talk about the Bantu people and their own oral history, and they know it because most of them say that they left Egypt or Kemet or Missouri to get to where they are today. So the Bantu people will tell you they left Kama, Kimi, Missouri. This is the words they use. These are the words that they use in their language. We used to live in Kama, Kimi, Kim, Missouri. And they will tell you, we left this land and went south. You say, why did you leave the land? And you say, we were going through a lot of harshness and servitude and slavery and abuse. And then there was a famine and we had to leave. And we left with a leader. And this mighty leader had a magic stick. And he led us across a great body of water. And along the way, we fought with other nations. And we migrated in different areas, staying here, staying there, moving, keep moving here, moving there. They'll tell you this. They'll tell you that this mountain here is sacred to us, just like the Bible talks about Mount Sinai and Mount Zion and, Mount Nebo, all these things. And so when you connect their oral history to the Bible and let them know the Bible is your history, but the Caucasians just use your oral history to make the Bible. And now they've deceived you to not understand where you are in the Bible. And the Bible's about you and all these nations that are around you here in Tanzania, Kenya. You see these Indians here, these Chinese, these Europeans, these Jews, these white Arabs, the Russians are here now. It's for a reason. And you show them in the Bible, then their eyes will start waking up. But you don't go to the front of a church outside in the street where people are congregating or walking home or whatever, and you start saying this and saying that and saying this and saying that. People are going to be offended. And when some people get offended and others get offended, then they're going to start throwing stones at you. If they don't want you to be there because you're offending them, then they're going to come out with machetes, throwing stones, bats, anything that they can come at you to drive you out.
All right. Hey, Ron, I want to ask you from here on in, right? Be very careful what you say, because we have Floyd Mayweather in the chat. You see the comment on the screen. I just want you to be careful where he can use your words against you when you face off with him. So he's in the chat, and you see his say sauce.
Yeah, so, tell him all the sources I have. I'm not pulling this out of the sky. I'm not making this up abracadabra. So everybody that knows Ron Dolton, that's seen my movie, they've seen my lessons on H2N TV, there is sources. There's extra biblical, scientific, tangible sources to prove that we are not the progenitors of the Egyptians. We are the Israelites, the Bantu people. And let's just say Jabari got his DNA test.
People are the Israelites, you said earlier too.
Yes. Let's say Jabari got his DNA test from African ancestors.
Right.
And it says, let's just say it says the Akan people, or the Bamaleke people, or the Tikar, or Temne, or Igbo, or Yoruba, or Ishan. Guess what? Your DNA haplogroup is E1B1A. You are essentially the same DNA as the Bantu people, whether you want to say you're West African, you're not Bantu, your DNA is the same as the Bantu people. Therefore, if you are a Bantu Negro with a Y DNA haplogroup, this is genetics, E1B1A, your progenitor, your ancient ancestors is not the Egyptian pharaohs, the Egyptian men. No, it's not. And we can prove this hands down. Done. Case closed. I got the sources. Jabari, you're done.
Hey, Prince of Yahweh, I need you to tell Elder Yara to call me because I don't have his new number. Thanks for coming in, Prince of Yahweh. Please tell Elder Yara call me as soon as possible, brother. Let me ask you, brother. Do you
sa.neter, what these guys do, like Anthony Browder and these Egyptologists, they go to Egypt and they say, look at the walls, look at the melanin, look at the black figures you see here, look at the color, look at the hair. That's you. These are you. That's your people. But they don't understand there's a deeper level to that. No, these are not you. These are the Egyptians. These are the Egyptians. They're not you. There are other black races that frequented and lived in ancient Egypt, and they have different haplogroups. Yeah, so yeah, this is child's work. This is child's play. Ramses III. Now, does he not understand the lineage of the pharaonic dynasties and the concept of the queen mother? Does he not understand what being a queen mother means? Does he understand that? When you have a queen mother,
he better get to know it now, because
he should know it. He ain't no real Egyptian scholar. If you are a queen mother and you have a son, that son is eligible to the throne as being a pharaoh. Ask Jabari, is that correct or not?
Okay, but let me ask you this right quick. Do you teach eschatology today?
Yeah. That's what I
was the Armageddon, the end of time prophecy.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to get Bishop Nathanyel to elude and give us some answers to, because they don't teach about a lot of this stuff. They just say Babylon's gonna fall, the white man's kingdom is going down, Esau's done, Esau's the devil, Esau's kingdom is gonna fall, the Most High is gonna destroy it. Okay, we heard all that before, but we're in the white man's kingdom right now in America. If Babylon is America and Babylon's going to be destroyed, we're in it right now. We are in it. What we're supposed to do? They're going to say, wait for the chariots of God. You say, who are the chariots of God, Bishop? IURC? Oh, the UFOs, the ships, the motherships, the ships that people they're seeing in the sky. They're gonna come over your house and beam you up, and you're gonna rise up out of your house into the sky to be with the Most High in the clouds. And then he's gonna take you somewhere, and then he's gonna come right back again. So Christ is gonna come back a second time and a third time, because he's gonna come and take you up. He's gonna hang out in heaven somewhere, and then when it's time for the battle of Armageddon, he's gonna come back riding on a white horse with all the armies behind him. It's like, come on, guys! You need to make your mind up. And end times eschatology, the battle of Armageddon, is going to happen where these other nations are going to be led into one particular area. This is called the Valley of Jehoshaphat, where the word Jehoshaphat means Yah will judge. Jehoshaphat means Yah or God will judge. Who? The nations. Why are they there? They're there to wage war against the Israelites. Where are they going to be coming to? They're coming to a land that has unwalled villages, a land people are dwelling without bars or gates, a land where people have livestock, they have land, they have silver, they have gold, they have all these minerals. and these other nations are going to want these minerals. They're going to want the best part of the land, and they're all going to come to this particular piece of land or area in the world to do all the plundering, looting, stealing. And we know that the Russians, the Chinese, the East Indians, the Jews, the Arabs, Europeans, they're not all trying to go to Israel to steal their land, to plunder their resources, to take their livestock, to take the gold, to take the silver, the copper, the coltan. They're not doing anything in Israel because Israel don't have nothing. Nobody wants anything in Israel. The only reason why they're fighting over Israel is because they believe it's the Holy Land. And so the Arabs are there, the Jews are there. It's always going to be conflict. But they're not fighting over resources. They're not fighting over stealing any land or minerals or livestock or anything that the bounty people have, because all of this is in sub-Saharan Africa. So the Battle of Armageddon is going to happen in Central Africa. It's going to happen in sub-Saharan Africa. And this is what I was trying to get Bishop Nathanyel to admit, or at least lead us into that direction, when I asked him the simple question, who are the descendants of Gomer, Magog, Meshach, Tubal, Togarmah? And I could have even went into who are the descendants of the ancient Persians, the ancient Kushites, and the ancient Puttites. But he didn't know. So I know he can't teach on end times eschatology in regards to the Battle of Armageddon if he doesn't even know who these people are. He doesn't know. And that's kind of concerning, because he's the leader of one of the largest Israelite organizations that started in 2003. So over 20 years ago, 20 years plus, the leader of a major Israelite worldwide organization that goes all across the world, he could not actually tell us on live air when I asked him the question, who are the descendants of Gomer, Magog, Meshach, Tubal, Togarmah? He said, go to Revelation chapter 20. Go to Isaiah chapter 24. It's the people in the Caucasus Mountains, the Scythians, that's them. Oh, no, they're the Pacific Islanders down here, the black people. But you guys are down in the Pacific Islands teaching them that they're the Israelites. They're the Israelites. You're teaching them the Israelites, and then don't sit here and say, well, they're the white people, because the white people that colonized the Pacific Islanders are the British, the Germans, the United States of America. They're so-called Edomites. So he's running out of options, and he knew that day. That's why he was all over the place and saying, oh, he's a nobody, he's a bum, he's a Negro, he don't know nothing, he don't have no congregation, he has no assembly. He was just making all these excuses, just talking, yapping, because he didn't want to answer it.
Let me ask you, do you subscribe to any of the apocryphal books, particularly First and Second Maccabees? If not, can you tell us why?
The book of Maccabees was written in a time period that the ancient Israelite prophets didn't exist. And it was written in Greek. It's written in Greek. It's not written in ancient Hebrew. So Greeks wrote that. So in my opinion, the Maccabees and the Hasmoneans were descendants of Greco-Romans who converted to Judaism. And I have a teaching, a complete lesson on that I did, proving that the Hasmoneans are Gentile converts to Judaism, and that Josephus, Flavius, and others, they kind of spilled the beans, and even archaeology of the synagogues in Alexandria, Egypt, and the synagogues in Israel, and the synagogues in Greece. They were all, a lot of those limestone rocks that they were writing on in the synagogues, they were all written in Greek, no matter where these so-called Jews were living at the time, whether they were living in Alexandria, which is in 4 Maccabees, and they were also in Shedia, they were also in Israel and Samaria and Judea, they were in the synagogues in Greece, but they were all writing and reading and speaking in Greek. So how can you have a people, and just because the Greeks come to your land, you're just going to ditch your language? You're going to ditch and throw away your language and start writing their language and speaking their language? No. Even when the white man came to Africa, the Africans still know their language. They still can speak it, and they were forced to learn how to write the white man's working language, like English or Arabic, whatever. But the white people did not erase the language of the African people, because all the African tribes today still have their mother tongue, and they know the tongue of the colonizer: Portuguese, English, French, Spanish. So these are things that we have to pay attention to. And the Apocrypha is just a book of what the white Gentiles at the time that had their own form of Judaism, what they were doing in that region.
Jabari, I was going to ask him that question, and you right there with me. So Jabari asked sa.neter, does he subscribe to the New Testament?
Yeah, but again, the question is the main question that he believes in is that we are the Egyptians, correct? Does he believe that we are the Egyptians?
No, he don't believe that we are the Egyptians. Jabari is not Egyptian. Jabari is a historian. And what he's asking that question for is because you was talking about the Maccabees and all this stuff was written in Greek, but so was the New Testament. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, I know this. And so that's why we see the word Scythian and barbarian in our Bible, because the word Scythian is a Roman Greek word for the people living in modern day Ukraine. But the debate that the Kemetic community wants to have is not about doctrine and is Jesus God, and should we pray to Jesus and look to Jesus for our salvation, or should we look to Osiris, Ra, and Isis for our salvation? The Kemetic community and the Israelite community have a problem with what's our identity. So when somebody says, what is our identity as Black people in the Americas and the Caribbean? Is our identity the ancient Egyptians that existed 5,000 years ago? Or is our identity the ancient Israelites? If they believe that the ancient Israelites didn't even exist, there's no such thing, then we can prove this with facts, that we are the Israelites, and that the ancient Hebrews and the Israelites did exist, and that their descendants are still living today. And no, we are not the descendants of the ancient Egyptians, even though we know the ancient Egyptian civilization existed. Jabari believes and teaches in the Kemetic philosophy and doctrine as a historian, because he's probably more on the side of believing that this Hebrew thing, or Black people are the Hebrews, and we have Hebrew traditions and customs and language and all this other stuff in the Bantu Negro people, of whom we are descended from, and we were taken as slaves from Bantu Africa. He probably believes this is all hogwash, and that we are connected to the ancient Egyptians, and that's it. But he's mistaken, and this is where the core doctrines of what he teaches is wrong. And we can debate on facts, because facts are going to prove that we are the Israelites. If he believes otherwise, then facts are going to prove him to be wrong. And if he believes that we're the ancient Egyptians, then I can show him who are the descendants today of the Egyptians, and how the Bible is even credible in the story of the Hebrews and how it relates to us today.
Okay, real quick, brother. You had an opportunity to go one-on-one with Bishop Nathanyel. Talk to us. How did that discussion go? Talk to us, man. About Nathanyel. Sit down.
So something nice with Nano. He's a South African YouTuber. He had Bishop Nathanyel on the same year that I had shown the movie Hebrews to Negroes in Soweto Theater in South Africa. So during the time, like in May and June, July, when I was promoting, showing the movie at Soweto Theater in South Africa, Dr. Umar Johnson showed up in South Africa. And then IUIC showed up in South Africa. And I said, I said, this was around the time that I'm going into the radio stations. I'm on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and YouTube promoting that the event is going down at the theater. and this is the first time that Africa is going to see the movie Hebrews to Negroes premiering in Johannesburg. And so Bishop Nathanyel and IUIC went on something nice with Donano's channel. And Donano asked him, he said, is Jesus a Jew? And then he said, yes. And then he says, all Africans Jews? And Bishop Nathanyel said, yes, from the continent of Africa, yes. And then he said, I want everybody listening. I want everybody listening to what I'm going to say right now. Israel is Northeast Africa. Because prior to that, when Donano asked him, is an African person a Jewish person? And Bishop said, yes, from the continent of Africa. So right then, he's basically saying that if you are from the African continent, you are a Jew. Then, like a year later, or like the next year, he said on Donano's channel, all Africans are Jews except the Nilotes. So then Donano asked him, who are the Nilotes? Bishop didn't know. So he started to, try to make something up on the fly, using scriptures and everything. He didn't answer the question. So then I said, oh, okay. So now he's teaching that these Israelites are here in northern Nigeria, like the Hausa, the Levite cities, and we got this place over here. He's going through the map of Africa, talking about the Jews of Africa. And then, so I said, okay. I said, Donano, when the next time you have him on, are y'all gonna do a Q&A? And he said, yes, we're gonna do a Q&A. And I said, well, let me know, because I'm gonna come on when you do the Q&A. He says, okay, and I'm gonna ask him some questions. And I said, I want you to ask if he will allow the people that ask questions to come onto the stage, onto the live with him. He said, okay, Ron, I'll do that. And when he did the live, he said, we got people in the audience who want to ask a question. We're gonna bring them onto the live. We got Ron Dolton is in the background. He wants to come into the live to ask you a question. Are you okay with that, Bishop Nathanyel? Because he already knew that I told Donano that Bishop Nathanyel is running. He's running from debating like a lot of other Israelite leaders. And so he said, because the question was that why, when I asked you about the Kyrie incident, that you don't mention Ron Dolton? Like the last time you talked about the Kyrie incident and what was going on and what was happening in South Africa, he said, what was that all about? And he said it was about Kyrie posting a link to a video about the Hebrews. And he didn't say, well, an Israelite brother that we know named Ron Dolton made a movie called Hebrews to Negroes, like Black America, and this is the movie that Kyrie had showed. He said it was a video about the Israelites. And so Donano said to Bishop Nathanyel on one of his interviews, he said, what is your relationship with Ron Dolton? And he said, well, we know Ron Dolton. We support Ron Dolton. During the Kyrie incident, we supported him. But we all know that during the Kyrie incident in 2022, that they were supporting Kyrie. They went to the Barclays Center to support Kyrie. They didn't call me.
That's right.
Say,
that's
hey,
right. That's right.
Yeah, they didn't call me in 2022 and say, Ron, are you here in America? Yes, I am. Would you like to come with us at New York City, Brooklyn, in front of the Barclays Center and stand with us for Kyrie? They didn't call me, email me, text me, this at all, because they wanted to do it themselves. It was not about Ron Dolton, the one that made the movie that Kyrie shared. It was about supporting Kyrie and getting the limelight that they wanted at the time. Stand in front. Look, if I would have stood in front of the Barclays Center and said, I'm the one that made the movie, Ron Dolton, and they were like, oh, the reporters, do you think the reporters would have been like, that's the guy that made the movie? They might have said, well, let's go the other way.
Yeah, they would have all came to you, all of them.
Yeah, they would either came to me or they would have said, nope, let's go the other way, because Kyrie told them.
Hey, hold on 1 minute, brother, because I got to get this, brother. Elder Yara, I don't have your number. Please call me, brother. Call me. It's important. I don't have your number. You changed up on me. Go ahead, Brother Ron. Sorry about that.
So at that time, you know, Kyrie said, "You're asking me to apologize for something I didn't make." And then they said, "Well, I think Adam Silver wants to hear you say the words, 'I apologize.' Are you going to apologize because the posts are still on your channel?" And Kyrie said again, he said, "I'm not going to keep repeating myself and saying the same thing." And he said, "You know, you asked me to apologize, and I'm not the one that made the documentary." He said this more than once. And they're like this in his face. He's like, "I'm not the one who made the documentary. It's a documentary that I didn't make. You're asking me to apologize for something that I did not do." None of the reporters said, "Well, we reached out to the guy that made the documentary. His name was Ron Dolton, and he declined to have the interview. He declined it." No, they didn't do that to me. So the whole time in 2022, when all these Israelites, they say we support Ron Dolton, in October, November, December of 2022, none of the Israelites, not one Israelite camp leader, organization, congregation called me, emailed me, and said, "Ron, I want you on my show. I'm not going to go ahead and put the title Hebrews to Negroes in the YouTube channel video. It's not right unless I have you on there."
Except for me. I called you, brother. I called you.
Well, you probably did call me, but the thing is, during that time in 2022, the reason why you didn't see me on any of the camp channels or any of the Israelite channels or any mainstream news channel or the Breakfast Club, Joe Budden TV, Vlad TV, Drake Champs, Joe Rogan, you know, what's that guy named Alex Jones, Candace Owens, Mark Lamont Hill, what's that guy's name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, Umar Johnson, Tariq Nasheed. Everybody named Mama was talking about Hebrews to Negroes. No emails, no, especially from the Israelites. And I said, wow, I said, the whole 2022, while all this is going on, not one person contacted me to talk about it.
You think it was jealousy?
I think they don't want. I think a lot of the Israelites, they don't want to see somebody else shine than them, because they didn't do the movie. They didn't do the movie, and a lot of them, they're not going to say. And prior to the Kyrie incident, all these camps were on their channels saying Ron Dolton came out with another movie. Check it out, Hebrews to Negroes 3, Hebrews to Negroes 2, this and that. Go watch it. Go watch it today on Amazon. Go to H2N TV. None of the camps do that. They talk about Babylon Timbuktu.
Well, I remember my brother Daniel Allah is the one that called me and said, "Yo, you need to get Ron Dolton on your show." And I said, "Who is Ron Dolton?" And he said, "Oh, you got to look at the movie, the one who did this and did that." And I went and looked, and I said, "Oh yeah, we got to get him." And so I made the contact through Daniel Allah, if you remember.
Yeah, see Daniel Allah and Zaab, they're different brews. They support one another. They don't care about, you know, if you believe in the white man's Esau and you believe in, they still support at the end of the day. That's how it should be. But a lot of these camp leaders in organizations in churches and assemblies, they got thousands of followers. They're not going to sit there and say, get this guy's book, watch this guy's movie, because then when they see the movie and the book, they might have a lot of questions in regards to what they just saw and read, and it may conflict with what they teach. And they may lose some of their followers or members for them coming to my channel and learning and being taught by me. So just like the Christian church, no pastor is going to recommend another pastor and you need to go to their church. They're teaching some good stuff. Why don't you go to their church? No, the pastor is going to teach what he wants to teach, because he wants to keep you a member of his church, because being a member of his church means you're going to keep making him money. But as soon as they start looking the other way and seeing another teacher, and his teachings are really, they're gravitating to me, they're pulling me in, you're going to lose members, and you don't want this. So the pastors have to keep that thing like on a horse, to keep them on the straight. So you can't look to the left, look to the right. you stay focused on what we're teaching. And as adults, I'm going to tell you what is recommended, what's not, and what you can watch, what you cannot watch. And this brother Ron Dolton, he's not with us, so therefore he does not have the truth. Don't pay him no mind. Don't bother with what he's talking about. Follow us only. And this is the signs of a cult, because a cult will tell their followers, why are you reading that book? Why are you watching that video? Why are you looking at that documentary? That's not recommended. Who told you can do that? That's wrong. You gotta give me the book, give me the video, throw it away. You cannot do that. They don't want thinking adults to look other places and decide for themselves if they like the information in a movie or book and what they're going to do with that once they read it and see it. A cult leader does not want you looking at other stuff, trying to figure things out and see if your leader, what he's saying, is lining up. A cult leader doesn't want you doing any research to see that if what he's saying is true or not, or is it just a theory, or is there some made-up beliefs about, he's this and he's that and we're this and we're that. A cult leader does not want people to look anywhere else other than the cult leader for all their information and guidance and teaching. So in the Israelite community, a lot of us are doing the same thing. We don't want nobody else looking outside the box, looking at any other teachings, looking at any other differences in doctrines, any different types of breakdowns, because they want to focus only on them so that they can keep you in their little fold, their little room, so that you can keep learning from them, and that's it. And this is the reason why for 20 plus years, the majority of the Israelites that follow these camps and leaders, they believe that Esau is the entire white race. They believe that Gentiles can't be saved. For a long time, they believe that all Africans are Hamites. Now they're starting to change that tone. And yes, this is what they believe in. They believe that the Chinese and the Asians and Japanese are the Moabites and the Ammonites. And this is the same thing that I debunked on the YouTube channel with Son of Shemites Lormans, because we want to do that clearly with facts and proof and sources and scripture, and prove that what they're teaching, Esau is the entire white race, Moab and Ammon are the Chinese, the Asians. We broke down with facts that this is false, and people seen it and was like, "Thank you." A lot of Israelites was like, "Thank you." It's about time. It's about time, because we're not kids. We're adults. This is nonsense. Jacob and Esau didn't come out one black, one African, and one white. No, well, we've been believing that for over 20 years. Nobody's seen the challenge any of the Israelites, and that's the reason why sa.neter, that a lot of these camps that teach that Esau is the white races, like GLCCs, your IUICs, your ISUPKs, your GMSs, they're wrong. And they're not going to want to debate me, because guess what? We all know at the end of the day, how can you be the leader of a large organization with followers, and then some man come along and starts destroying and debunking your teachings with facts? And people nowadays are going to say, man, let me Google this and fact check what he's saying to see if Ron Dolton's right. And then when they do, they're going to say, he's right. He's right. And we were wrong all this time listening to these guys. Wait a minute, Ron Dolton has more teachings? Where? HMN TV? They're going to say, well, let's go. Let's go this way. And they don't want that. So they have to avoid a debate the same way the Jewish rabbis won't debate me, the same way the Christian pastors like Eric Mason in the Christian apologetics, they won't debate me. Like, I tried to debate Billy Carson, I tried to debate Wes Huff, and they're like, no. They're like, no. I emailed Wes Huff after he debated Billy Carson, and people said that he won the debate. And I emailed Wes Huff, the Christian apologetics, and they emailed me back, no, he's not interested in debating you. No. I was like, okay, well, he doesn't want to debate. And so a lot of people that are in the Christian community, the Israelite community, the Jewish community, like the top rabbis and the scholars, the Jewish scholars, they're not going to debate me. I can call them all day long. They're not going to debate me. They can say this work is anti-Semitic. It's based on no research. It's pseudoscience. They can say all this stuff all they want to in the Jerusalem Post, Times of Israel, and all these different magazines. But at the end of the day, none of these Jewish rabbis or Jewish scholars or Christian scholars or Christian apologetics or top Israelite leaders, they're not going to debate on a lot of these key topics that we need to cover. You're muted. Sorry. You're on mute. Stop.
Yeah. Let me ask you, brother. Will you be bringing out any more new films, documentary books, and stuff like that on Black Hebrew Israelites soon?
Yeah. Like I said in the last show we did, the latest 3 movies I did, Hebrews to Negroes 3, Volume 1, 2, and 3, and they're subtitled "Sound the Alarm." And the first one is dealing with the ancient kingdom of the Congo and the ancient Israelites, and the second one is uncovering the true biblical land of Canaan and the true Exodus route. And that's in Volume 2. And in Volume 3 is Gog and Magog's army, meaning the descendants of the people that I asked Bishop Nathanyel to give us the whereabouts and identity of the descendants of Gomer and Magog and Meshach and Tubal and Togarmah and Persia and Cush and Put. Like all that information which Bishop Nathanyel cannot prove or give us the right answer, all of that is in Volume 3, and this is all on h2ntv.com. H the number 2 and TV.com. It's just that a lot of the Israelites, they're not willing to go watch and rent these videos to learn something because they have dogmatic thinking. So the dogmatic thinking and the ignorance and the rejection of learning new things and learning knowledge is what plagues our people. We don't want to even look at it because we just are afraid that it may disagree and debunk our doctrine. So I could come out with 10 movies. You know, I could come out with a movie this year, a movie next year, but a lot of the Israelites, they're not going to watch it. They'll watch Sinners and Black Panther and all this other stuff, but they're not going to watch a Hebrew Israelite movie that they can learn something from and potentially change their teaching and their doctrine. They ain't going to do that.
All right, brother. Are you up for questions or what, brother? You would like some questions or no? It's up to you.
Go ahead.
All right, family, come on in. Respect my guests. Y'all can ask questions, but you must turn on your cameras.
I don't run like Bishop Nathanyel was running, and they quickly said, "Okay, Ryan, we got to put you back. We got to take you out of here now," because Bishop started getting nervous. He started like calling me names and saying all this stuff. So the Nano realized that it was not going in the direction that he thought it was going to be, like just a question answer, and just answer the question. That's it, Bishop.
Right. There you go. So y'all can come on in and ask your question. We got Apostle in the building. Apostle, you up first, my brother. Do you have a question for the brother?
Hold on, I'm trying to get my mic situated.
Okay, let me move on over to Rakufu.
Wait a minute, I'm having a problem, technical difficulty. Let them go first, huh?
Man, all of y'all going crazy. All right, let me get on over to my man Esau and Ka. What up, Esau?
You know I ain't having no difficulty. No. What's up, brother Ron Dolton? We appreciate your work, of course. I'm sure the Hebrews is loving it, absolutely. So salute to you for creating movies, and I love to see a Black creator. But now I got to tear you down a little bit. Just a little bit, because I got a couple for you, brother. So the Hebrew tradition is outside of Africa, is where it starts. How are you connecting the Bantu people to the Hebrew tradition?
Okay, so the birth of the nation of the Israelites started where? Like the birth of a nation. So let's say this. I got 10 kids. Is that a nation?
It's a
That's not a
football
nation.
team. It can start one, yeah.
Yeah. So when the Israelites went into Egypt to be with Joseph, they were the 12 tribes. But then when they left after hundreds of years, they left like 1 million strong. That's a nation. But they left Egypt as a nation in Africa. So the Hebrew traditions and customs, even when they were given the Torah and the laws by God, this all happened in Africa. This is what I teach. Like I know people believe that modern day Israel is the Holy Land, but I don't teach that because the Bantu people and all the evidence that I have researched being here in Africa has proven that when the Israelites left Egypt, they went south. So they stayed in Africa. So the Hebrew traditions and customs and the nation of Israel was birthed out of Africa.
Let me you mind if I share my screen real quick, Sa? We can't hear you on
You got to ask the brother Ron. This is his show.
Big Ron. You mind if I share my
Yeah.
screen? This is
Yeah,
going
go
to
ahead.
help some of the things that our Hebrews do, right? Because a lot of our Hebrews make the claim. But let me show you something real quick because none of them ever use this, and I don't know why. Would you agree that the Hikakasu are the beginnings of the Hebrew tradition?
No,
No?
no, no.
Here's
I
one of
don't.
your
I don't teach that.
here's one of the Hikakasu here. You can see Yehudia, but his name is Min. His Egyptian name is Min. Now he looks Asian and black. He looked like Heinz Ward. He even got the Steeler colors behind him. This is his coffin. And we know it's him, of course, because his name is all over it, right? DF giving, and then he's getting these things up head, he's getting duck and all this. But in Ka in men, right? So for spirit of men. And this is him on his coffin. He's a Hikakasut. He would be black and Asiatic, obviously, from his face. He looked like Heinz Ward. So other than this and Paheka Amen, who his real name is Beni Yah, but he chose to stay with his Egyptian name when he passed away. So he'd rather go in the servant of Amen, Paheka Amen. Who would you have to show in ancient Hebrew times that would be black?
Well, we have to remember that using critical thinking and logic, that we can see that the bones that they found in ancient Egypt, there were different ethnic groups because they have different DNA haplogroups. And in ancient Egypt, they found different writings. They found Proto-Sinaitic Hebrew, and they found ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics in Egypt. So that means that you got two groups of people. One is our Egyptians that are using their natural mother tongue, the hieroglyphics, and you have Hebrews that are in ancient Egypt that are using pictographs, or you can call them Hebrew hieroglyphics. And then you look at the fact that you not only have the Egyptian bones with their particular DNA haplogroups, but you have another group of people that have a different haplogroup. You know, you look at the skulls of these people in the grounds that are kind of like common folk in ancient Egypt, their skulls are different than the skulls of the Egyptian pharaohs. That means that they are not the same people. And when you look at today, who has the same skulls and the same DNA of these people that were living in ancient Egypt in ancient times, like the Old Kingdom and the Middle Kingdom, who are they today? They are the Bantu people, the Bantu Negro people of whom you descend from. And when you study the Bantu people living in Africa, in West Africa, East Africa, Central Africa, and South Africa, and you live amongst them, you can see them practicing all the traditions and customs in the Torah. And you ask them, well, who taught you this? The white man, the Ashkenazi Jew that he set up schools in Nigeria and the Congo and Angola and Malawi and South Africa? Did he set up schools for you guys to learn this? Did he set up any type of way that you can learn the Hebrew language and the Egyptian language because it's in your mother tongue? They say, no, we've been knowing this for thousands of years. He said, well, how'd you get here? Because obviously you didn't just exist, poof, and you existed in the Congo. They say, no, Ron, we left Egypt. We came from Egypt, we migrated south. And they'll tell you the whole story and how they landed in Central Africa and all the traditions and customs. And you say, wow, this is interesting. And then on top of that, you see in their maternal DNA that they have the maternal DNA that is found in the women of ancient Egypt, the maternal DNA that's found in the women of ancient Kush, Sudan, and they have the maternal DNA of the women of the Canaanites that are found in sub-Saharan Africa with the hunter-gatherer, forager, African pygmy tribes in the Khoisan. So then all these things are starting to add up to where you got language that has a Hebrew foundation and Egyptian influence. You have traditions and customs that is primarily Hebrew with an Egyptian influence. You have an oral history that states that you were not indigenous to Egypt, but you lived there and you left there, traveling south. And in addition to that, we can look at the 613 Torah laws, and you guys are following it to the T. And when the white man came to Africa, you guys didn't have no King James Bible to refer to. You were just doing everything as it still was in the Torah or the Old Testament without any text. So how do you explain who these people are if they're giving you all these extra biblical facts that coincide and line up perfectly with the Bible and the ancient Hebrew Israelites? And I know people like to use the Hyksos, the word Hyksos, and this and that, and they came in and they ruled the upper kingdom or the part near the south. We got to understand there's a lot of Shemitic nations that have a Hebrew substratum in their language, and they did cross the Red Sea and came into the continent of Africa. It wasn't just the Hebrews. We got Ishmael, you got the Moabites, you got the Ammonites, you got the children of Joktan, you got the Edomites, you got different Shemitic people. And just because a Shemitic nation came into Egypt and they did rule a part of Upper and Lower Egypt for a while, and then they lost power, that doesn't necessarily mean that they were the Hebrews. But one of the things is clear is that when we look at the date that the Hyksos came into ancient Egypt, the brother you was talking, do you know when the Hyksos ruled Egypt? Do you know the date?
12th dynasty is when they get in there. 11th, they start to protrude in there. I want to say, is that 1230 BC supposedly?
Okay, so let's just say it's 1230 BC. Let's just say it is. We have Proto-Sinaitic Hebrew found in ancient Egypt dating back to 1850 BC.
1853. That's right.
No, I'm saying that. I'm not saying that the Hyksos came and conquered at that time. I'm just saying that going back to almost close to the 19th century BC, that we already have Proto-Sinaitic Hebrew found in ancient Egypt. So people that were speaking and writing ancient Hebrew were already living in ancient Egypt.
But those are the
prior to the Hyksos. Wait, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's why I asked you that, because those people in 1853 to 1942 are the Hyksos. Those are the people in particular, the guy that I just showed, which is why when you said that, and then you mentioned them leaving or mixing with Egypt, Remember, in the Bible, what is it? Joshua 5:9, I believe. You're on Mount Gilgal. Joshua is the son of Nun. So we know his father is Egyptian. And he already tells you that the Egyptian men are the fathers of these children. And it also says, even before we even get there, when we're just dealing with Moses and Aaron, as soon as Moses went up, the first thing the people said was, here's some gold, here's our earrings, but make us a golden calf, make us a Het Heru. And we know there's a temple in the Sinai that's Het Heruish. Well, it's got our face, so we know it's Het Heru. We assume that those were the Israelites that made it. With those things pending and knowing that the only thing that separates the Hebrews from the Egyptians that leave is circumcision, meaning you cut off a piece of penis to become an Israelite as opposed to who you were born as, an Egyptian, wouldn't you say that you would be more Egyptian than Israelite?
No. It doesn't work that way. See, if the Hyksos ruled for like 100 years, let's just say the 1700s and the 1600s, and then around the 1500s they lost control of Upper Egypt. If Proto-Sinaitic Hebrew was found in ancient Egypt going back to 1850 BC, prior to the Hyksos coming to power, then that means that there were Hebrew people that were writing in that Hebrew hieroglyphics or script and were speakers of the Hebrew language that lived in Egypt at that time. And the reason why we know this to be true, in addition to the hieroglyphs or the pictographs in ancient Hebrew, is because we have the skeletons in the DNA to prove it. And when we test that DNA and the skeletons to modern day populations in Africa, they line up with the Bantu people. And these skeletons that were Egyptian in origin, or indigenous Egyptians or real Egyptians, their DNA and their skulls are different than the Bantu people. And that means that there was a different lineage, a paternal lineage that sprang from the Egyptians and then the ancient Hebrews. Now, the one thing we do know is that the ancient Hebrews did intermarry with the Egyptian women and the Canaanite women and the Kushitic women. And that will only bear witness if we did the maternal DNA of the Bantu people, and it would show this.
All right. Hold on, Ron. We gotta move quick because I'm about to be out before this post office close. But anyway, let me get to my other one. And we got Apostle in the building. Apostle, you on the call, brother?
Grace. Shalom, Ron.
He said a lot of things that went against your teachings, Apostle.
Hey, but this is still.
I got to roll with Ron Dolton on this. I agree with Ron on this, brother.
Okay, I understand, Si, but it's still an honor to speak to you, Ron. I saw both of your movies. I even went to your school in Detroit. I took courses from Dr. SQ, Paleo Hebrew, and I took the course on our holy days from I guess it was law.
That's the laws,
Yeah, laws, right. I took both of those courses at your school, so I support you 100%. Loved your movie. Great days. Nothing but respect for you. Love your conversation with Harry. And I would ask you, is Harry Edomite?
Well, we have to get his DNA test. We got his DNA test, and let's say it says.
So you can't look at that red boy and say he's an Edomite.
No, because he can.
Is he an Israelite?
No, of course not. I mean, a lot of the Jews today, they are descendants of Khazarians, Bulgarians, Sarmatians, Germans, Russian. In the sense of a lot like the children of Japhet, and then you have a small percentage that That's
Ron,
an Edomite.
you're like me. I had to learn on this channel. You can't speak slow. You got to speak fast, so they cut you off. So
Yeah.
and be careful when you say that.
That's not true, Apostle. Only cut you off because you don't know when to stop, brother. You don't have a stop pause button, brother. Ron
Listen,
speaking all day.
Be
So
careful.
Ron,
but be careful, Ron, because
what he's trying to tell you, what he's trying to tell you is be careful of the assassins like Esau Today in the chat, brother Jabari, Nepal should die. That's what he's trying to tell you because he have gotten his butt kicked many times by brother Jabari, the champion. So he's trying to tell you be careful.
I never got my butt kicked.
No, Apostle got his butt chipped up many times by me. I had a debate with him. I had a debate with Apostle not too long ago, and the debate was dealing with salvation. And I told him salvation is for everybody, the Gentiles and everybody. And he said, no, it's only for Israel. So that shows he don't know what he's talking about.
I crushed him, just like Tazariak just crushed Bennett, Pastor Bennett, this weekend with the same message. So crushed him. He listen, stop interrupting me, Si. Si believes that the action with Israel and Egyptians went the other way because the Bible says that the Egyptians hung like donkeys. And so be careful with that. When you're saying that we mix with Egyptian women, he likes to say that the Egyptian women mix, not that Israel women mix with Egyptian men because the Egyptian men hung like donkeys. So stuff like that. Yeah, because but listen, I just real quick, I want to share my screen side. Just real quick, I want to share my screen about Esau, and I want to see what he got here and how much of what I got here this brother's going to agree with.
Your screen is sharing, Apostle.
All right, let's go here. Okay, first, these are the sons of Japheth. You see them, Ron?
Yes.
Ashkenazi, German, Britain, Alicia, Britain, Tasha, Spain, Kidman, Rome, Dudonum, Serbia, right? Now, I believe this is France. I'm not sure. So I didn't put these two down because I'm not exactly sure today who they are. Do you know? Rapha and Targama? Do you know who they are today?
Yeah. Well, okay, so Elisha and Dolton is, I don't think that's correct what you have there, but Torgomov, his lineage is connected to the people that are in Central Asia. So you have your Oghuz, Turks, you have your Bulgarians, you have your Khazars, you got a long list of people. Even Armenians will tell you that they are the descendants of Torgomov. In the Armenian church. So a lot of those we call today Arabs today, even a lot of the Jews, they come from that Central Asian land of like Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, where a lot of the descendants of Gomer, son Torgomov, lived there. And remember, Gomer's a large nation because they existed before Torgomov did. And a lot of times Central Asia and Asians, they mix together, and they also have in a lot of the Chinese armies, they had Turks. So in the Chinese armies of the ancient dynasties like the Tang dynasty and the Shang dynasty, you'll see that the Turks, the Eastern Turks mostly, or the Gok Turks, were amongst the Chinese, living with the Chinese, fighting in their armies. And it just so happens that a lot of the descendants of Gomer, like Ashkenaz, Rephath, Torgomov, their so-called territories were in that Central Asian territory and the Pontic steppes and the Riphaean mountains and the Carpathian mountains. But mostly a lot of them were around the Caspian Sea or the Sea of the Khazars.
Right.
It's kind of like the bridge between Asia and Europe.
So the Romans, would you agree that they, according to Joshua, they are the children of Chittim? or Kittim?
Yeah, because Javan is basically the Greeks, and Javan had a son named Kittim, and a lot of people will attach the Greeks and the Romans to the same lineage in a sense. And so I know today people will say Kittim is Rome, and even the people down in Cyprus.
Yeah,
but
Kittim, right? Yeah. Kittim is Rome. And would you agree that Alexander, the son of Philip the Macedonian, according to Maccabees, came out of the same, came out of Esau?
He's a Grecian. No, he's a Grecian. The Greeks, Alexander the Great, they're the sons of Javan.
Right. So if I show you that Philip is one of the great grandsons of Esau, according to the book of Maccabees, or the
I understand that, but we still have to remember that when talking about the progenitor of the Greeks, or Javan, these are descendants of Japheth. And right. Japheth existed and lived before Esau was even born.
True, but Esau children married into their bloodline.
But Philip's
grandfather was an Edomite.
But all I'm saying is that Esau's sons did not impregnate all the Grecian women. Yeah, some of the Edomites might have had Greek wives, and they had children, and then now there's essentially Edomite slash Greeks, like Amalek slash Esau and slash Horite, like half Horite, half Esau.
Oh yeah. So the Horites, the Horites were, I don't want to mention it out loud, so I'll just show it to you who the Horites are.
No, I know who the Horites are, but we have to remember that the East.
You see that word?
Yes. Troglodyte, a cave dweller.
So who were they?
They're the Neanderthals.
Was the Egyptians.
Right. Did Esau not marry? Did Esau not take 50 women of the Horites when they conquered Mount Seir as wives?
No, in the Old Testament of the Bible, it does not say that Esau took 50.
This is out of the Cambridge. This is out of the Cambridge Dictionary.
I know, but it does not say that Esau took 50 Horite wives. It does not say that in the Old Testament.
No, it says it in the Cambridge Dictionary.
All right, Apostle, we got to move on. We got to move on, Apostle.
I understand. Esau, I do to me,
this brother.
Esau, I would love to go over this PowerPoint that I have put together using biblical sources and historical sources, showing you that even Herod the Great is Esau, Caiaphas is Esau, and half of our leadership in Israel during the time of Christ were Edomites.
No, I know. I listen. A lot of stuff I already know, but I just don't say that the whole white races are Edomites.
No, I'm not saying the whole. I always tell side, not all white people.
Yeah, but you never, Apostle, you never told me that Japhet was the white race today. You never told me that.
I did. Oh yeah, I told you that.
Oh, okay.
Japhet is the European. That's what this is about right here.
All right, so I got to move on, Apostle. Let me get Rob Kufu.
Okay, Brother Ron.
Yeah.
You from Detroit yourself, brother?
Yes.
Me too, as well. Peace to you, fam. Go Pistons. But anyway, look, even though we got slaughtered by the Knicks, go Knicks now, sir. But hey, so my statement to you and then question is going to be, in order to make your biblical truths teachings or truth or reality, we got to go with the narrative then that the Bantu people are different than the African Hamites, and they come out of Semitic countries and they migrate into Africa. Because if we don't, then we got to throw DNA out, because DNA shows us the Degnesh bones in Ethiopia and Lucy and them as indigenous to the continent, and the oldest people on the planet is the African, which y'all version, y'all biblical teachings teach that it's the Hamite. I mean, it's the Japheth or either Shem. as you read the Strong's Concordance, the most evidence on that information. And the Strong says Japheth is the elder, Shem is the middle son, and Ham is the younger. But that's flipped upside down by science. Ham is the older, Shem is the middle, and Japheth is the baby. But elaborate on that.
Yeah, but even with that, I mean, it's like I have a brother that's 47. I have a brother that's 45. And at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that if my brother started a civilization and my other brother started a civilization, that they existed thousands of years before I existed. We're all three of us are brothers. You know, maybe the difference is a year or two. Doesn't mean that the Shemitic civilization, the Japhetic civilization, the Hamitic civilization in Africa, one of those is like predates the other by like thousands of years. So we can't say that the Kemetic or Hamitic civilizations existed before the European civilizations or the Sumerian civilization. And that's why I said earlier that the Chinese civilization, the Sumerian civilization, the Indus Valley civilization, the Hamitic or Egyptian Kushite civilization, they all existed around the same time. You look at the history, like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 BC, they were all existing and living in different parts of the world. So nobody was more ancient than the other, because they all existed and have writings and culture and DNA and skeletons at the same time.
If I was to give you that, which I don't agree with, but I'm gonna give it to you for the sake of this conversation, then you'd have to say, if me, you, and we had another brother and we were all 2 years apart, and DNA found that our older brother, you was the middle and I was the baby, then there's no way you can make that claim again that we're younger than you. We are not younger than you. We are the elders, because science totally denies what you just said. It doesn't show. And the thousands of years is the throw off. We're just talking about, even if I'm a second older and DNA can prove it, then you lied. It's not holy anymore. It's unholy.
How does DNA become holy?
All right, Ron, we got to move on. I want to get these last two people, and because I got to go pick up something. We got King Selah in the building, and then I got my man Unc, and we're gonna wrap it up. Selah, what it is, brother?
Hey, peace to the righteous God, sa.neter.
Peace, brother.
Quick question to the God. I had a couple of debates, and I brought up a topic about Black Hebrews upholding rabbinical tradition throughout the centuries. And I showed a list of Europeans, let's just say from the fall of Jerusalem coming down to our present time, the time period, what they did, what they offered, and all that. But what I couldn't find is one Black rabbinical Hebrew upholding Torah tradition with the pedigree and the lineage. It doesn't have to be a direct lineage, but a lineage of Black men upholding Torah tradition. So I would like to ask you if you know historically that could be proven name and time period of a Black man upholding, or Black men upholding the Torah as tradition, like we see the Europeans doing throughout the centuries.
Okay, so the Bantu people, and I said this before, the Bantu people in Africa, different tribes, they are upholding the Torah laws right now in their respective countries and villages. And before the white man came, they did not have a King James Bible to reference or a Torah scroll to look at. They're just doing it. And it's in our Bible. It's in Leviticus, it's in Deuteronomy, it's there. But they don't have a Torah scroll or a Bible to look at. Thou shalt not do this, you should do this, and circumcision on the 8th day, name on the 8th day, all this other stuff. It's so many traditions and customs that they practice that, okay, the Jews may do a lot of this stuff too, because they're looking at the Torah scroll and they're they teach this to their children. But the Bantu people were not taught this by any other nations. They left Egypt, and through the wilderness, they learned this through Moses and the Most High. And that's why to this day, they
let me
along with
let me interject right quick, because I'm not really going back to Moshe time. I'm really concerned about from the fall of Jerusalem, let's say 70 CE coming on down, from that time to our time. We see a pedigree, names and dates of these European Jews that's upholding a tradition that's supposed to be ours. Now, I understand the Bantu, but I'm talking about like real hardcore evidence where we could say like, look, like for an example, like they'll use Cherry and Crowley to say like, well, this is when the Black Hebrews started in the Americas, and here's the pedigree, here's the time period. So prior to them brothers, because they learned from the Europeans, but prior to them brothers, do we have that? Where I could show pictures of Black men holding up Torah scrolls or holding up ancient scrolls with the culture.
No, they don't need to hold up the same Torah scrolls that the Jews do. The Bantu people, they're the living descendants of the Bible. They're the living Hebrew Israelites. So where do you think that the Greek Septuagint came from? They had to get it from the people that were already living this, and their ancestors had lived through this, and they passed it down to them, and that's why they're doing it. So all the stories that are a lot of stories that are in the Bible, like the Exodus story and other things, the creation story, all of that, they already know this, and they don't need a Bible they don't have to read a Bible, look at the Torah scroll to understand this. And this is from Moses until 2025.
But see, what I'm saying is like a body of evidence, because it's easy to say these things. You know what I mean? I understand the Bantu. I'm Caribbean, so I understand oral tradition. I understand that very well. But when it comes to supporting evidence, because if we're going to make the claim that we these people, and then the people that we claiming to be is shown by another nation of people upholding tradition, that we could go from the 14th, the 15th, the 13th, 12th century, and it's documents of their works outside of me just saying, yeah, I'm from the Bantu tribe and we got an oral tradition, without actually showing like give me a name of an elder, then his elder, and scrolls that they wrote and left behind. And here's
the other thing. Can we change DNA? Can I change your DNA? No.
I think that's off the subject, man. I'm talking about like the tradition.
I'm going to explain why. I'm going to explain why.
That's what I'm referencing.
I'm going to explain why. I cannot change your DNA. I cannot delete your DNA. I cannot add to your DNA. But we know that in the Bible, the ancient Israelites lived amongst the Egyptians. They had to have known their culture, their traditions, and learned their language. They intermarried with the Egyptians, the Canaanites, the Kushites. And when they left Egypt, they brought this with them in their culture, traditions, language, and DNA. No other people, white Jews, Sephardic, Mizrahim, Ashkenazi, they can't show this in their actual DNA evidence. Yeah, they can produce traditions and customs in the Torah scrolls and names of men and elders and Obadiah, Ben, Israel, also they can come up with all that. But at the end of the day, the stuff that cannot be changed, meaning our DNA, the traditions and customs, our language that is primarily Hebrew infused with some Egyptian loaning, they can't show this. Any true Israelite that left with Moses during the Exodus should have evidence of Egyptian admixture in their DNA, in their language, and some borrowing of the Egyptian traditions in their own customs.
Let me interject real quick, because I understand you keep going back to Moshe, and like I said, I'm not really coming from Moshe's time period. And then technically, hold on.
70 AD. So it's more ancient. They're more ancient.
No. I get that. And actually, the Tanakh you have today actually comes from the time of Ezra. It doesn't go back to the time of Moshe. It goes from the time of Ezra with the Great Assembly in 450 BC. That's documented facts. So now,
all right. I got to move on, Selah.
All right, King.
Sorry, brother. I got to move on.
We'll talk again.
Yes, we're gonna have the brother on again real soon. All right. This right here, what you're about to see, is the litmus test to see if this brother, Ron Dolton, I think he is, if he's ready for the toughest environment to be in. Because he's about to have a discussion, a talk with our brother Unc, the atheist, the real black atheist, the God killer. God killer, you are on the call, brother.
Hey, how you doing, Don? How you feeling, man?
I'm good.
You good? Yeah, you know, sa.neter like to hype everything up, man. You know, we cool with it over here. You're a funny guy right there. But I'm not gonna play and try to ambush you and play the crazy game with you. What I will say is that you made some statements that can actually be analyzed with science and scientific data and consensus, and a lot of the statements you made is not in with the consensus or the scientific academic community. Do you agree to that?
All the evidence that I have is
No, not all. I'm saying the statements you made, like you talked about the Hebrew writing at I think it was a place in Egypt, the Sinai Peninsula, Proto-Sinaitic. You used a weird term. I wasn't quite familiar with people saying that it's not actually Hebrew writing. It's Proto-Sinaitic, Sinai Peninsula. Yes, Hebrew. What'd you say?
Sinai.
Proto-Sinai, yeah, Proto-Sinaitic.
Before Sinai.
But you added the word Hebrew onto that. That's actually not Hebrew writing. And I'm not saying that you would have to agree to that, but I'm saying that's not in the scientific academic consensus when it comes to biblical archaeology. Do you agree? Am I wrong in making that statement? Or do you have a document that would kind of show that?
Yeah, there is a such thing as Proto-Sinaitic Hebrew. It's not Proto-Sinaitic Arabic, Proto-Sinaitic Egyptian. It's Proto-Sinaitic Hebrew. Yes.
Where's the document? No, you pull it up. I don't. What I'm saying is you
can look it up, but if you go to h2ntv.com, then you can see the Proto-Sinaitic. Okay, if you don't want to learn,
I want an academic source. You get it? I want an academic source because I can pull up my academic source for you.
The source is there. You can see it. You can see it.
No, that's not. No. So the Ostrakhan.
Let's say this. Let's say that somebody pulled up a stone in ancient Egypt, and they noticed that these inscriptions are not Egyptian hieroglyphics; they're Proto-Sinaitic Hebrew, and they actually have this stone on file somewhere in a museum. Then, will you believe it then?
It's not even about what I believe. It's actually about what we can actually verify and prove. And I'm saying, being a biblical person, you don't have to actually qualify anything to be a Bible believer, and that would be your belief. Right? I'm just saying that would be your belief. So I wouldn't push you on that.
If you see a block of stone from ancient Egypt that's not Egyptian hieroglyphics, it dates back to 1850 BC, and it has Proto-Sinaitic Hebrew on it, and you can look at it with your own eyes. And if you're actually in the museum, you can touch it, you can hold it, you can take a picture of it. What do you have to then say about belief when you can actually see it and know that this is not Egyptian hieroglyphics? This is another script of language spoken by somebody that was in Egypt at that time in 1850 BC. That is now no longer a belief. You know, because you see it, you can touch it, you can take a picture of it, and it exists in a location in our reality on this world in a museum.
What I would say is you're mischaracterizing the archaeological find. What I would do is I would share my screen and show you what you're actually talking about. It's actually at the turquoise mines, a Mother Hathor. Okay, and I don't know if sa.neter is on. You can show my screen. I'll show you the actual one of the artifacts. So I'm actually asking for artifacts, and I'm saying your mischaracterization of it. He found it on the Sphinx. This is some of this Proto-Sinaitic right here. Here you go, the Temple of Hathor. Right here, they're in the ruins. So these are some of the artifacts, and you can see it right there. Not quite if you can see it. I'll be right here. The Proto-Sinaitic alphabet right here. Okay. Yes. And so let me finish my point. I'm not going to long you out. Let me just finish my point. I'm not going to be rude. sa.neter, he's not showing it. Are you showing the screen, sa.neter? He just saved you on purpose. Anyway, I'm saying there's artifacts, and they never call it what you're saying. So all I'm asking for is not a television program, but like just a archaeological survey. So like the oldest Hebrew writing is not 1,800. It's somewhere with 10th century, and that's on the Ostrakhan. And that would be 10th century BCE. And it's actually a calendar, 11th, early 10th century, and it's not actually the Hebrew writing. It's not actually that. So I'm just no. You talk when I'm talking. You mess about.
You gotta also listen too. You just want to talk all the time.
No. I can't listen in the middle of me talking.
Listen what I have to ask you.
No. Listen, I can't listen in the
Let me
middle of
ask
you
you a
talking.
question.
So if you
Let me ask you a
listen, so if you allow
Let
me
me
to
ask you-
talk, you doing that on
Let
purpose.
Let me
No.
ask you a question. Can you
No,
answer
I'm
a
not
question?
answering. Nope.
Okay, so now you're doing the same thing as Bishop Nathanyel. You don't want to answer a
No,
question.
it's not that, man. It's that you go and ask the question, but I'm saying you're not playing fair right now.
Question, please.
No, wait,
Please.
listen.
Can you
Go ahead.
answer a question?
Listen, I'm gonna give you some
Why
grace
can't-
on this one. I will go ask him the question, but we won't play it this way no more. Go ahead, brother.
Please, can I ask you a question? The
Yes,
Hebrew
sir.
language. The
Uh-huh.
Hebrew language.
Yes.
Where do we find evidence of the Hebrew language at?
You find in early Semitic languages. They're part of the early Semitic languages. That's
Okay,
that's the image right there. But the
the
actual
Hebrew
writing
language-
is. Let me finish the answer.
Let me finish
Okay.
talking. Hold on. Just hold
I thought
on.
you asked
a
me a
minute. Good Lord. So when you just looking at that right there, we see the hey, we see the mem, we see I can't really see a lot of those letters there. But on this image you just showing here, it says both inscriptions on the base are written in Proto-Sinaitic alphabetic script.
Yes, I
Did
said
they
that,
say?
bro.
Did they say it's Egyptian hieroglyphics?
No, it's Proto-Sinaitic, and I can explain it to you. It come
Okay,
out.
so let me ask you a question. Let me ask
Okay,
you,
what's your question? What's your question?
Was it found in Egypt? Yes or no?
Yes, in the Sinai
And
Peninsula.
no, it was found in
That's
Egypt.
Egypt. That's part of Egypt.
Okay, it was found in Egypt.
Yes.
What people were speaking the Proto-Sinaitic language and writing the Proto-Sinaitic script? What people?
They wasn't. That's Proto. They wasn't even writing yet. They was actually. That's like a.
Why do you think they call it Proto-Sinaitic? Sinaitic is for Sinai, before Sinai. You can look it up. Proto-Sinaitic Hebrew means before they got to Sinai. Look it up. I mean, Divine Prospect knows this. Proto-Sinaitic Hebrew is not Egyptian hieroglyphics. So what people were
Hold on. Why would you say that? I never said that. Why would you say that?
Okay. If it's not Egyptian
So I thought
hieroglyphics,
do you realize you asked me a question? Will let me answer it?
if it's not Egyptian hieroglyphics,
Why would you ask me a question and allow me to answer the question?
If it's not Egyptian hieroglyphics, what people were speaking and writing this alphabet script?
You have the question. The answer to your question is you have Asiatics. You have Shawshu Bedouin. Okay, you have they call them proto. You have people that speak the Semitic languages and they're not Hebrew. And so the oldest Hebrew writing that we have, and it's in a counter form. And I actually tried to show you the daggone thing, but you bulldozed me. It's actually come on, bro.
Is that a Sumerian language?
Bro,
yes
bro.
or no?
All right, hold
Is
on.
that a Sumerian
Hold
language?
on. Everybody, hold on for a minute. In order for the people to hear clarity, I need one at a time. One at a time. One mic.
Let Don go, man. Let Don go. Go ahead, Don. He won't let me answer the question. He won't let me do it. He refuses to.
Because what he's trying to do is say that.
But I'm answering the question though. I'm just asking. Let me. I'm not trying to say anything.
One mic.
What I'm trying to say. You're a funny guy. You're a funny guy.
Making up the language. You say it's not Proto-Sinaitic Hebrew. It's Proto-Sinaitic.
No, we were talking about the written script, bro. Stop it. We were talking about the written script. It's called Proto-Sinaitic. You threw the Hebrew on it, and then I asked you, do you have a document? I said, do you have a document? And you bulldozed with a question. You never let me finish.
One at a time, y'all. One at a time.
Okay, what I'm saying is you can look at Paleo-Hebrew, Proto-Sinaitic Hebrew, and see that they are both related to each other because they are both of the Hebrew script. You can look at Egyptian hieroglyphics and look at Paleo-Hebrew and Proto-Sinaitic Hebrew, and you're going to see that they're two different scripts. You can anybody can put up the Egyptian hieroglyphics used at that time, and then look up Proto-Sinaitic Hebrew and see that they're two different scripts written by two different races of people, ethnic groups. And this comes along with a language. So Proto-Sinaitic Hebrew were speakers of the Hebrew language, just as the Egyptian hieroglyphics were speakers of the Egyptian language. So it means that there were two ethnic groups living in Egypt at the time, the Egyptians and the Hebrews. Not Sumerians.
Can I talk now? Can I talk now? Can I talk now?
Yeah, exactly.
I know you the guest, right? But
you're not acknowledging what I'm saying.
No. Me and you should be able to have a better discourse. It's almost like you shaky and have a fear right now.
No,
I'm willing to have a
solid.
normal conversation with you. If you're
I'm
solid,
solid.
then let's have a conversation. You don't have to say you solid. You would prove you were solid. So I'm gonna say this real. It's my turn to talk now. Okay. All right. Don't make me have to start using tactics, which makes no sense for me and you, brother. You're a gentleman.
Go ahead.
Gentlemen should treat each other that way. Right. So what I'm trying to tell you is that I'm gonna share my screen. The proto-Sinaitic script actually comes out of the ancient Egyptian script. Okay, that is the base of it. What I was trying to tell you, at the turquoise mines, there is an Egyptian temple there where you find these artifacts that you just looked at and seen. Then you switch it to the language they were speaking. That's fine. But I'm saying there is no Hebrew nation yet at 1800 BCE. There is no Hebrews writing anything. That's what I'm saying. And I'm saying is I can prove and verify that. You know that. You know divine suspect. You supposed to know that. Okay. But divine suspect is not the standard in this particular conversation. The experts are. So I'm going to show you the screen. It's not okay. Let me show you the screen. And I want you to see it for yourself. Right. All right. So I find it very interesting. Share the screen, sa.neter. Appreciate you, bro. Share the screen, sa. Right here. Clear. Here you go. The hieroglyphics. Out of the hieroglyphics, you will get what? El Kadem. Right? You see the sign of the bull, the Alif. You see it. All the way to the Phoenician script. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you is the proto-Sinaitic script actually comes out of the Egyptian writing. So there were some scribes at this particular temple, maybe dealing with some Asiatics, because they dealt with Asiatics all the time, right? Whether they're from Western Asia, they dealt with them all the time, and they was showing them, they was breaking it down. It's not a problem, but I cannot allow you to come on the program and make a point that the ancient the Hebrews was writing at 1800 BCE, bro.
You're proving me right. You don't even know.
I'm not proving you right.
I'm gonna show you.
They're not Hebrews.
I'm gonna prove that you've been proving me right, and here's why. Just be quiet. Let me talk.
I've never cut you off.
Let me talk. Let me talk.
You want me to leave the screen up for you?
The Hebrews. No, you can leave it like that.
Okay.
The Hebrews. They were a different ethnic group. They were not the Egyptians. Therefore, they would not have the same DNA as the ancient Egyptians. So when you have skeletons that have skulls and you compare the skulls of people that are living in Egypt, their skulls are totally different than the ancient Egyptians. Their DNA is totally different than the ancient Egyptians. Then that means you have two distinct ethnic groups living in Egypt. So when these ethnic groups, one leaves this area of Egypt and they migrate south, and these people are in Africa, and they're keeping all the Torah laws and customs in the Bible. They're using all these languages and words that are lining up with Hebrew, the Hebrew Strong's Concordance, and they have evidence that proves that they have Egyptian loan words and some borrowing the Egyptian customs, but yet the foundation of who they are, meaning their traditions and customs, their oral history, the God that they worship, one God, not multiple gods, including their language and their DNA points them to a different people other than the ancient Egyptians. This would explain why the Proto-Sinaitic Hebrew is different in classification than Egyptian hieroglyphics. If they wanted to call it Egyptian hieroglyphics, they would have called it Egyptian hieroglyphics, but not called it Proto-Sinaitic. Why do they call it Proto-Sinaitic and not Egyptian hieroglyphics? Because the people understand this is two distinct writing styles. If they were the same writing style, they would call them all Egyptian hieroglyphics. This is common sense. So the reason why they call Proto-Sinaitic Hebrew is because it is a different form of script used in ancient Egypt. Yeah, it may have some borrowing or from vice versa, one versus the other with each other, but we understand that in the pronunciation of words, that the Hebrew pronunciation of words is not the same as Egyptian pronunciation of words. Even though they may use the same script, the pronunciation is different. So if the Hebrews call evil Ra, in Egyptian language, the word evil is something else, then how do you explain that? If the Hebrews call something word that means something and it's not the same as the ancient Egyptian, it means that there was a different language we're dealing with, because you can use the same script, just like Bantu people today can use the English alphabet to write down what they need to say and pronunciate. Anybody that is a English speaker and they've been colonized by the British, they can write down in their colonial script, like English or even Arabic, they can write down what they're saying in pronunciation, but the pronunciation and the meaning of the words is going to be different versus the Somalian, the Habesha, the Bantu, the Tuareg, the Hausa, the Fulani, the ancient Egyptians. So you can go through a whole list: dog, cat, horse, cow, God, water, blah, blah, blah. You can go through a whole list of words and see that the pronunciation and meaning of these words is different with the Bantu people than it is straight down the line with the ancient Egyptian language. But then you can look at the scripts and say, well, you can say, oh, the Bantu came from the Egyptian, and I can say no, it does not. But regardless of how similar the script looks to each other, the pronunciation of the words, of what you pronunciate the word and what it means, is different than the Egyptians and what they speak and how they pronunciate and put words together. This is called lexicon and syntax and lexicon. So when you look at these things, you can understand that there are different ethnic groups that were living in Egypt at the time. And then when the Bantu people exited Egypt, there was a separation of these ethnic groups, and they followed their trajectory south. And this is why the Bantu people are not doing all of the laws of Ma'at and the straight things that the Egyptians used to do, but instead the Bantu people are doing everything in the 613 Torah laws in the Old Testament. They didn't learn this from the ancient Egyptians. The ancient Egyptians, Osiris, Ra, and Isis, didn't give them the 613 Torah laws. No, Moses and God was the ones that passed down the Torah laws to the ancient Israelites. So when the Bantu people left ancient Egypt and took with them the Proto-Sinaitic Hebrew and the evolution of Hebrew as it evolved over time, and you can look up a lot of the hieroglyphic scripts of the Bantu people, like the Congo hieroglyphics, or the Congo scripts that were found in the Lovo Massif caves in the Congo, and how it's identical to Paleo Hebrew. And you can look at the Congo languages, like their words, and find hundreds of their Congo languages identical to the Hebrew lexicon. So how can we have a Bantu people that have the Congo hieroglyphics that is identical to the Paleo Hebrew of ancient times, and we look at their you look at their words in their Congo or their Kikongo lexicon, and we could find 200 words that line up exactly with the Hebrew Concordance Strong's lexicon today. And then we check the DNA of the Bakongo people, and we found out that the DNA of the Bakongo people are not the same DNA as the ancient Egyptians, yet their DNA, even DNA, was found in ancient Egypt, including the skulls of the Bantu people that they can measure and say, okay, this skull was the Negro Bantu skull. It was not an ancient Egyptian skull, because the ancient Egyptian...
Like the video, thumb up the video. All right, Ron, let's get Uncle a chance to respond.
I just want the same amount of time he got.
Yes, go ahead, Uncle.
Okay,
so let him go.
Yeah,
Ron.
we call it gift gallop. You didn't actually answer the question.
No, you didn't pay attention. You didn't pay attention. That's all.
Damn, man, come on, bro.
Ron, you gotta let him go. You gotta let him go. Let him go. Go ahead, Uncle.
This is a site right here, the Temple of Hathor. I showed you the artifact earlier. It's where they find the Proto-Sinaitic script, 1,800, somewhere in that BCE, somewhere in that. There's no Hebrews at this particular juncture in history. Simple as that. There's no grave sites. There's none of these things. And I'm confused at the constant use of DNA, but yet not accept DNA and how it actually works. I'm confused. The biblical texts only have human beings going back to 6,000 BCE. When you use DNA, you extend it to 300,000 BCE, which would officially discredit the biblical text as being a text simply dealing with a cultural container of ideas of people in a particular region, Palestine, Judea. So we don't understand when you try to make the point or miss the point that the ancient Egyptian script, out of the ancient Egyptian script, you get the Phoenician script, you get the Canaanite script, you get the Sinai Peninsula script, and later on down the line, you get your old Hebrew, and then you get the box Hebrew. You get that. That's later down the line. So you cannot make that mistake and connect ancient Hebrew culture, custom, and tradition at 1800 BCE. There is no archaeological evidence for that. You make the mistake, and all of a sudden, in trying to play this game as far as making the Hebrew tradition ancient African tradition, and you mix the Bantu people in that. That's not scientific. That's not an academia. That's your personal thing. That's fine, but that's your personal thing. There's no evidence of any of the things you're saying. No Hebrews in Kenya, no Hebrews, none of this stuff can be validated by academic. At this point in time, y'all should just raise young brothers and sisters, okay, to go to school, go to paleontology, go to archaeology, learn anthropology, and come back with the evidence. But we refuse to do that. So I'm just strictly saying, I just don't appreciate you not directly answering the question. I don't appreciate that. Can you please give us some archaeology that will validate that they're Hebrew people at 1800 BCE at the Sinai Peninsula? That's all I'm asking for. Can you give me a source that will show that the Proto-Sinaitic is really ancient Egyptian writing? What text did they write with the Proto-Sinaitic? You don't have it. I gave you the artifacts. There is no Hebrew text written with the Proto-Sinaitic at 1800 BCE. You will spend the rest of your life looking for it. I'm done.
Is there an evolution? If there's an evolution of the Proto-Sinaitic Hebrew script, that means that the people existed when you showed it early on the screen, and they continue with this Hebrew script and language over the course of hundreds of years, thousands of years. There's a reason why the Bantu people, many of them say that they left misery. They don't say that they left Kemet. What is the word that the people in Egypt called themselves in their land? Did they call it misery, or did they call it Kemet? So if the Hebrew word for Egypt is misery, and the Arabs say misery, and the Hebrew say Mitzrayim, then why would the Bantu people call the land of Egypt that they once lived in and left, well, they call it misery and not Kemet? But yet their DNA is found in ancient Egypt, and their skulls is found in ancient Egypt, and it's different than the skulls and the DNA of the Egyptian pharaohs. But yet they're down here in West Africa, Central Africa, South Africa, East Africa, and they're talking about we left misery, and they're giving you words in their lexicon that lines up perfectly with the Hebrew lexicon. And in the way that it's formulated in the word and the meaning on top of that. So the meaning of the word tells the story, and in addition to that, it lines up with the word that it means. So for instance, there's a sister from the Ebe tribe in Ghana, Togo, and the word Kana, like the word Canaan, they spell it K-A-N-A. It means the soil provides, or the land is fruitful. The land of Canaan was a fruitful land. The soil provided everything it needed for the Israelites. In the Ebe tribe in Ghana, Togo, the way that they say Adam and Eve, they say Adim. Adim is Adam. What does it mean in their language? It means he looks like me, or he resembles me. Like man was made in God's image. The way that every people, when we say Adam and Eve, they say, well, in our language, we don't say Adam and Eve, we say Kawa. You look in the Hebrew Strong's you write Hebrew word Eve. You'll see the Hebrew Strong's word is Kawa. Look it up. Google Hebrew Strong's word for Eve. And the Hebrew is Kawa. In the Ewe language in Ghana, Togo, it's Kawa. What does it mean in the Ewe language? It means made from side. made from the rib. That's what it means in their language. The white man didn't teach them this. What was Eve made from? Adam's side. Adam's side. What is the first letter of the Ewe tribe's language? It's Aleph. Aleph. What is the first letter of the Hebrew language? Aleph. When you look at when you go to h2ntv.com, which you say I'm not going to do that, you will see, and that's sad that you won't go there and look at the receipts, the sources, the proof.
All right, what is it? I'm gonna do it for you, just for you. Go ahead.
Okay.
You pushed me to do it. What is it?
So when you have a people that have the DNA and the skulls.
No, what is it? What's the website?
It's h2ntv.com. h2ntv.com. When you have a people that say that they left either Missouri or Kimi or Kama, and they migrated south, and their elders tell you that they are the Israelites, and they say, and you say, how do you say Judah in your language? They say Yaondi. You say, what does that mean? What does Yaondi mean? Well, in Hebrew, Yaondi or Yehuda is Judah. Well, you say, what does Yaondi mean in the Bakongo language? It means the one we praise. The one we praise as what? The one we praise as king? Yes. What does the word Judah mean in Hebrew? It means to praise, or the one we praise. So when the Bakongos say Yaondi or Yaounde or Yehunde, it's basically coming from what the Jews have corrupted today as Yehuda. And so when you look at the Kikongo lexicon and you look at the Hebrew lexicon and you see over 200 words in the Kikongo lexicon compared to the Hebrew lexicon, and the words are exactly the same.
Hey, do me a favor, man. Hey, Don.
How is it possible?
Hey, Don. And this back chat right here, drop the thing for me.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm going to say. There's the Bakongo people say that they left Egypt and they migrated to where they are today, and they are keeping all of the traditions and customs in the Torah. Okay. In their language has all of this that's identical to the Hebrew lexicon. You cannot sit there and say that these are the ancient Egyptians when they say, the elders say that we are the Israelites. We have the Ark of the Covenant in the Congo. The kingdom of the Congo was divided into 12 sub-kingdoms ruled by one king. And from the Bantu homeland in Central Africa, many of the other Niger-Congo tribes spread to South Africa, like the Zulus, to West Africa, to East Africa. And yes, all these languages today in the Niger-Congo languages are dialects of a parent language, which was ancient Proto-Sinaitic Hebrew, or you can call it the Congo hieroglyphics, or the Bantu languages, the Niger-Congo languages. Because why? Because these people, including you and sa.neter, you are the Israelites. You are not connected genetically to the ancient Egyptians from the paternal bloodline of these men. And the reason why Ramses was the only person, they say Ramses had E1V1A. If Ramses III didn't have E1V1A, you guys wouldn't have nothing to pull up. But because Ramses had E1V1A, if you are the queen mother, and I say this again all the time, people should know this. If you're a queen mother and you have a son, whether the father is a Kushite, a Puttite, a Canaanite, an Edomite, an Israelite, if the
Hey Don, did you forget what you was talking about, Don? I know you was going off. I think you kind of forgot what you was talking about.
I'm gonna wrap it up. Here.
I know. What was your overall reaching? What was your point you were trying to make?
His name is Ron. Ron.
I said Ron. I said Ron.
Oh, I thought you said Don.
Ron.
Wrap it up.
Go ahead. I'm at the website. I want you to show us I want you to direct me to the archaeological finds you was talking about, Ron. Go ahead.
When you look at, you just made me lose my train of thought. Hold on. What was
good, Ron. Good.
Oh, no.
You forgot your train of thought 20 minutes ago. You don't even know what you were trying to make.
Me now. You just interrupting me, so I was on the train of thought now.
Let him go.
What's the last thing I said? What was the last thing I said?
You forgot.
Who's asking us?
Nothing.
So y'all want to pay attention? Y'all want to pay
He was
attention?
Gift Galloping. We was paying attention. It was incoherent in the conversation. That's all I'm saying. Not trying to be funny, Ron.
They say they elevated. We are the Israelites. No, I got it. I know it's covenant in the Congo. I got it. Kingdom in the Congo was divided into 12.
All right, go ahead, brother.
I got it. So the queen mother, when she has a son, that son is eligible to be a pharaoh of Egypt. Whether the father was an Egyptian man, a Kushite man, a Libyan man, because we all know that the Egyptian dynasties were ruled by the Assyrians, the Kushites, the Puttites, like Shoshank and Eoput, and these other nations. The Libyans ruled, the Kushites ruled, the Egyptians ruled, the Hyksos ruled. We know this, the Syrians ruled. So they could be pharaohs of Egypt as long technically as their mother was a queen mother. So if Ramses III's father was an Israelite, I think it was sa.neter, and he married and impregnated a queen mother, maybe she fancied him, maybe she had an affair, who knows? But she had a son named Ramses III, and Ramses III had E1B1A, and he became the pharaoh of Egypt. Why? Because his mother was the queen mother, but his father, sa.neter, nobody knows who his father is. You can look it up. Well, who was his father? What was his DNA? And we can understand that the majority of the DNA samples of ancient Egyptian pharaohs do not all say E1B1A. If it did, we would have widespread news of this. It would be all over the place. They E1B1A is the main DNA haplogroup of the ancient Egyptians, but it's not. People come up with one DNA sample and say, oh, that's it. But just like the story of Joseph, the story of Moses, how they were favored and they ruled also over Egypt in a certain sense. Back in those days, when the Israelites were ruling or living with the Egyptians, yeah, there were Hebrews that could have easily been the husbands of the queen mother, meaning Egyptian mothers or queens that were living in ancient Egypt. They could have had Israelite fathers all day long, yes. But then the Bible states that there was a pharaoh that didn't know Joseph. And this is when the oppression started to happen, and the separation between the Hebrews and the Egyptians was made clear that you guys are not us. Otherwise, why would we oppress you Hebrews and make you slave for us? And just as the story goes, as it states in the Bible, that the Hebrews left. They didn't stay, they left. They didn't stay for all the dynasties all the way to the end. They left. And when they left, they brought with them and brought with them their traditions and customs and their language and their oral history of where they came from. And this is why I keep saying all the time, and a lot of Israelites already know this, that the Bantu Negroes' traditions and customs, oral history, and DNA and language all ties back to the ancient Hebrews, not the Egyptians. So we cannot sit here and say that the ancient Hebrews did not exist. There's no such thing. They weren't there at this time, because we can prove that with DNA, linguistic evidence, archaeological evidence, traditions and customs. What is that? That's sociology or anthropology. Anthropology is a field of science, correct? And anthropology deals with traditions and customs and religions and food and dress. So when we look at anthropology, archaeology, genetics, linguistics, oral history,
hey, Ron,
what's your the ancient Egyptians?
Ron, I think I got you. Ron, I think I got your point. Your point is, hey, sa.neter, can you show my screen? This is his point. Share my screen. So you basically saying that black people is all these people. They the Native Americans, they the Egyptians, they the Hebrews, they all these people, the Holy Bible thumpers. I'm talking, let me get my thing. They the more, you basically saying the African Americans is everything. I'm saying this is an issue right here with me. You know why it's an issue? Because there are things we can actually prove and verify with African American history. So I'm gonna ask you, I'm on your website, bro. Here you go. I'm on your website. Where is the archaeological stuff that you're talking about on here? Where's the evidence so I can share to people? Where?
You have to pay, put your credit card in, subscribe, and then go to the lessons. And the lessons are hours long, 4 or 5 hours long. Do you have the time to do that right now? Yes or no?
Yes, I do,
No,
brother.
you do not. No,
I
you
do
do
got
not.
time to do that. I got time to do
Here,
that.
here you go.
How much y'all to how much are the lessons?
You got to subscribe. They're free.
I said, how much are they?
You have to subscribe, and like Netflix, they're free. Once you subscribe, then you can access the lessons. So here's the thing.
Why did you say pay for the lessons? Why did you say that? Did I hear that wrong?
To be a subscriber, you have to pay, like Netflix.
I know. Okay. How much? You know, you're a double talker, man. You wow. I see how you fool. I see how you fool Kyrie got. I see now. Oh man. Boy, I'm trying to tell you. How much is the subscription, sir?
$9.99.
$9.99.
Real American. Okay. sa.neter Godzilla. We have to understand that.
We gotta understand, yo. You funny. Can I talk though? Let me get mine in. You have fun, bro. Listen. So I'm saying that 99% of the things that you talked about, you can't prove. You make that mistake of saying that people in finish. Huh?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead. I said you can go anywhere in the world. You can go into America and look an African American in the face that clearly came from the transcontinental slave trade and ask him who he is. He swear he a Native American, the first indigenous person. You can ask another African American down. Yeah, swear that ancient Hebrew. And the more they do, we do this all the time. This is a human thing though. Humans do this. You can go to the Chinese and they swear they're Egyptians. You can go to Africa and Kenya and they swear to the ancient Hebrews. Do you know why? Why do they give sway to the ancient Hebrews? Because of the Bible. Why do they give sway to the Bible? Because during the transcontinental slave trade, during the age of conquest, right, during colonialism, the biblical text spread around the world, helped by the printing press by Gutenberg in 1440. So everybody think that their particular God is the standard. That's the only reason why people gravitate to the Bible, because they think that's the standard, forgetting about the thousands of indigenous cultures that had their own deities, right? They had their own cultural containers. So I'm not disrespecting you because you want to practice and talk about your cultural container. I'm simply saying, as an African American, you have no ties to that. You can be a convert and practice any religion you want, but you're not the indigenous people. You're just not. And those indigenous people you talk about don't become a nation until around the 1600s. I mean, 600 BCE or so. Somewhere in there, you want to talk about King David, right? That's 1,000. So that's late in history. So come on, bro. You're a funny guy. I'm glad I got to talk to you. You're a fair sport. I appreciate it, Ron. I'm not trying to ruffle your feathers. I'm just saying that don't agree. That the scientific community, the academic community does not agree. The consensus on who African Americans are don't agree with that. So you tough sledding, right? Tough sledding. And at times I feel like people are taking advantage of marginalized communities that are not educated on these subject matters, brother. And I'm in with that. And I appreciate the conversation, bro. We'll get it in again sometimes, right? Of course, I support you. I bought your book like most African Americans did. You know, I just support you, but I'm not going to say that the information in there was backed by science or credible.
So the scientific community, when we deal with anthropology, archaeology, genetics, linguistics, that's all part of science. So on H2N TV and in many of my lessons, and I can bring this up also in debates. I can bring up all levels of
1 minute, Ron. You said who is Nepal? Here's Nepal. Nepal is going to close the show out. I got to make a quick run to this post office before they close up on me. And Nepal, you got the floor. I'm out.
Okay. All right, cool.
All right, Nepal. Nepal.
Can I be heard?
Yes, you can be heard. I'm out.
Okay, great. Hi, how are you, Ron Dolton?
Hi.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I think we met before, right? On the last show?
Yes, we did. We did.
Okay.
I don't think, I listened in, but I just want to be sure your position. So your position is like who? I didn't get to hear, unfortunately, who you say Esau is. Can you tell me?
Yeah, Esau is a lineage that has admixed himself with Africans, Shemitic tribes and what you might call today European tribes. But he has not replaced, you know, the whole European nation or the whole African nation or the whole Shemitic speaking nation with his bloodline, with his male seed. That's where the Israelites fall in error. And you can prove this easily with history, genetics, and other things. But mainly, you can use history and genetics to steal the deal and just cancel all of these erroneous teachings on Esau is the white races.
Put this under. Okay, so who put us in slavery? Under your tongue. Leave it. Who put us in slavery?
Yeah, so when you talk about us, I like to describe us in terms of a DNA haplogroup. So regardless of where you're talking about, let's say the Kikuyu, the Abagusi, the Akamba, the Sukuma, the Zulu, the Kosa, the Bukongo, the Ashanti, the Igbo, the Yoruba, you know, all the Mandinka in Senegal, Gambia, they all have the same Y DNA from the father, E1B1A. And on the East African side, when the Arab slave trade started, as far back as 300 to 600 AD, the Arabs, the black Arabs, were enslaving the Bantu people, our descendants, or our ancestors, I'm sorry. They were taking us on slave ships or dehoused to the Arabian, countries. The Indians also, the East Indians and the Persians, they also came along that Red Sea coastline of the East African, part, and they took a lot of slaves, Bantu slaves, to the east. Now, talking about the transatlantic slave trade of Central Africa and West Africa, the European countries came to Africa, and the African kings and chiefs that were the same DNA as us, they were Bantu, they were Israelites. They had neighboring tribes that they had wars with and conflicts, and they would capture prisoners of war and from other tribes and keep them in prison in their land. And a lot of these people, including some of their own people, these kings and chiefs that had the same DNA as us, that were the same lineage as us, they facilitated the sale of black people, their own people of the same bloodline and ancestral lineage, to the white man for the goods that the goods that the white man said, I will give to you in return for these slaves. So yes, the white man did go into Africa and start stealing some slaves, but for the most part, a lot of these areas, they already had villages, towns, chiefs, elders, kings, and princes that knew about these white people that were coming to the coast of the land, and they wanted to take people away. And so slavery was a thing that had to do with Israelites, Hamites, Ishmaelites, meaning Shemitic Arabs, and the white man participating in the slave trade. So in the slave trade, all parties were a participant. You even have people that were Egyptians in Cairo that had slaves. They had slave areas. They were hold the slaves, and then people come and buy slaves. They had it in Sudan, in Suakin Island. They had it in Cairo. They had the Cairo slave markets. They had it in Mogadishu in Somalia. They had it in Zanzibar. They had it in West Africa and Cabina and Loango and Badagry Island and Omina and Cape Coast. Yeah, and even Goree Island and St. James Island. So even slaves were held in Sao Tome and Principe on these islands off the coast of Africa, so they could ship them to the Portuguese and the Spanish. So the participation of the slave trades of our people were done by Israelites, Ishmaelites, Hamites, Europeans. So it was basically like a conglomerate of people that were responsible for the slave trades. It wasn't just white people. That's something that people need to look up and kind of do their research on the history of the slave trade. It wasn't just white people. They were the ones that were buying and selling the slaves when they got to Africa, because the African kings and chiefs, they were the ones that say, okay, take these people away. The white man said, okay, I'm gonna give you this in return, and we'll be back later. And the chiefs and the kings had to decide whether or not they were going to continue to do business with them. Even the Arabs, even the Hamites, even the Tuaregs and the Fulanis that did not have our DNA, but they're the descendants of Kush and Put. The Tuaregs and the Fulanis and the Hausas, they did have Bantu Israelite slaves, and they sold us to the next highest bidder that wanted to take us on the ocean to the Americas and the Caribbean.
Okay, so okay, so the slave trade was an actual business. It was a commercial business for a while, centuries, right? So, are you saying that white people aren't the ones who benefited from the slave trade financially? I'm not talking about Arabs who were like working in the business. Who set the business up, like the slave trade? I'm not talking about the little guy. Who was the one with the ships transporting black Africans around the world for commodity as a commodity? Was it Africans and Arabs, or was it European, Spanish, and other European groups, Portuguese? Who was it? Were they white?
The first people that started it was the black Arabs. They're the ones that started it in East Africa, the Arab slave trade. Or the
They had
Islamic.
ships, and they were bringing them to the Americas. The
Now,
Arabs were.
they had ships, and they were taking them to the Arab worlds, and some of them were taking them as far as into China. Yes.
Okay. So in America, were there Arabs here running the slave trade, building America, or were they white Europeans in America, in the United States particularly?
Yeah. So in the western part of Africa, the Europeans were coming to the coast of Africa and making deals with the Hausa, the Fulani, the Tuaregs, and the African or the Bantu Israelite chiefs. So you had Hamites and Israelites that were making deals with the white man, and the white man, after making the deal, he took his cargo or his merchandise on the slave ship to the Americas.
Hold that thought. You said a lot before, so I want to keep you right there, if you don't mind. Who benefited? Who made the most money off of African commodities, human beings? Who was it? The Arabs, the Africans who sold them out, the Israelites who sold them out, or the white Europeans? I just need you to pick one group so I can ask you some more questions.
Yes, in terms of money, in terms of building a nation, making money with cotton and tobacco, the children of Japhet are the ones that dominated and made the most money off of the slave business from West Africa and Central Africa. The children of Japhet.
Okay, now got you. Now why do you say that about Japhet? Where do you get that information?
Because prior to the Roman Empire, the other nations of Japhet, the people that are the descendants of the Proto-Europeans, they came from the north and the east. So north of the old Roman Empire, they came from the north and the east. The Germanic tribes, the Turkish people, the Ottoman Turks, these Slavic, Turkic, Germanic tribes came to Western and Eastern Europe, and they conquered the old Roman Empire in 476 AD, 1,000 years before the slave trades would even start. So these Germanic, Slavic, and Turkic tribes that existed in Europe prior to Esau being born, they're the ones that conquered and basically socialized and populated these regions that we call today Spain, Portugal, Great Britain, France, Germany, the Netherlands, even Rome and Italy, Italy, Rome, and Greece. So these nations, these Proto-European children of Japhet that existed prior to Esau being even born, they made up these European countries that in the 1600s were the ones that were coming to the coast of Africa to make deals to put the cargo slaves on the ships and send them to America, not the Edomites.
Right, but you do know in the history that the Edomites took over Japheth. There's information, there's a plethora. I mean, I can't get into it too much, but I'm more than willing to, you say the Hebrews are afraid of you. I'm more than willing to debate you on that, because there's so much information. I'm going to take you back to the Bible, because some people might not, it's neither here nor there. I can say it's this and you could say it's that, but people who know the Bible, who's the main adversary of Jacob in the Bible? Is it Japheth or is it Esau?
The main adversary of the Israelites in the Bible is not just Esau, because when you read Ezekiel 38, Esau.
I gotta stop you. Because I didn't ask you how many adversaries. I know there are many. Who's the main adversary? The main adversary, the antithesis of Jacob in the scriptures. Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated. Jacob is the beginning of the world, Esau is the end. Who's the main adversary of Jacob? It's an easy answer.
I understand that Esau was the adversary in the beginning of Jacob. But remember, Esau cannot replace a whole nation.
No, I didn't ask you that, Ron. I didn't ask you that. I asked you one question. Who is the main? No, I am. I'm giving you a chance. I'm going to let you keep going, but I need you to stick with you can't run. Who is the adversary of Jacob? Is it Japheth or is it Esau in the Bible?
Esau and Amalek in the beginning were the adversaries of the Israelites when they left the Exodus with Moses. Yes.
So who stole the birthright from Esau?
Jacob did. Well,
Jacob. So did Jacob? Brother, did Jacob still? He stole his. Because what you're doing. I will let you go. You went a long time. You talked about how the Africans are also. Brother, you went a long time, and you talked about how the Africans are responsible for the slave trade, just like everybody else. Now I'm asking some tough questions, and I need you to be honest. In the scriptures, Japheth is not the adversary of Jacob. It is Esau, right?
Okay, no, fine. Let me ask you something. At the end, when does the end happen for the Israelites? When is the end? What is the last battle? What is the last battle? What is the last battle of the Israelites?
In the valley? It's over in the Levant. It's supposed to be. I think what is it called? Timnon. I can't remember the name, but I know. What about it? You're talking about Are you talking about Gog and Magog?
Okay, in Ezekiel 38, this is the last battle of the antagonist versus the Israelites. Correct?
Yeah, you're talking about Gog and Magog, right?
In Ezekiel, yes. In Ezekiel 38, it lists nations, not the nation of Esau or Edom. It lists the nations of Gomer, Magog, Meshech, Tubal, Togarmah. Now, are these the nations of Esau or the nations of Japheth?
I'm going to answer your question, just like you took a while to answer my question about slavery. Listen to me carefully. This is important, everybody. Esau is known for taking over nations. Brother, please, composure. Esau is known for taking. Brother, you talk about the Israelites. Remember when you were on the line remember when you were on the line with Nathanyel? Can I speak? You asked me a question. He's running.
You asked the question.
You won't let me answer.
The nations of Gomer, Magog, Meshech, Tubal, and Togarmah, are they of the lineage of Japheth or Esau?
And now you stop talking, right? I can speak?
So either the answer is Esau or
Jacob. No. Can I speak?
Go ahead.
Please. Okay, please don't interrupt me, because I didn't interrupt you when you said that Africans are also a bit. Okay, let me try again. Brother,
you have to give me one answer.
My friend, if you let me speak without talking over me, you told us that Africans and Arabs are also. Okay, I'm gonna try again. I'm gonna answer. I'm trying to answer. You won't let me answer. You keep talking over me. Are you sure? You sure? Because see, you did a whole dance about Africans and Arabs are also are responsible for slavery, not white people. I said quietly. I didn't say one word. I totally disagree, but I didn't speak over you. Now let me say this again because I know it hurts. The Edomite is known for taking over nations. It's throughout the. He's hurt. He's hurt. He's hurt. Brother, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try a third time. I'm gonna try a third time. My friend, I'm about to answer.
What? The lineage of Japheth or the lineage of Esau? It's one or the other.
And you know, I am, but you won't let me. You keep talking over me. My friend. On
Jacob and Esau, tell me, are these nations in Ezekiel 38 are the lineage of Japheth or Esau?
Okay.
You don't need a history. You don't need a history lesson on Jacob and Esau. Tell me, are these nations in Ezekiel 38 that are listed, are they the descendants of Japheth or Esau?
Are you going to let me speak? This is getting ridiculous now.
I've been trying to.
I'm going to answer you if you let me talk. I am going to answer. My friend. Okay. Even if I don't answer questions, do you have to keep talking over me? Have some composure, please. Please. I'm trying to. It's Esau because, please don't talk over me. It's Esau. Please don't talk over me anymore. It's a bad look. It's a bad look for you, but thank you. It's Esau because Esau is known. Watch him start talking again. Esau is known for taking. I told you it hurts. Esau is known for taking over nations. He took over. Look at Ptolemy. They took over Kemet. They take over all kinds of nations. They do. They come in and they pretend to. Oh, I know you won't stop. You just can't. No, sir.
Of Gomer, Magog, Meshach, Tubal, and Togarmah. In Genesis chapter 10, who is the father?
No, that's Esau.
Magog, Meshach, and Tubal. We can read it right now. Pull it up.
We know. What? Why are you? I thought you were so chill. I thought everybody's scared of you. You seem scared. But you won't let me talk. Because
that's what you said. You said it's Esau. So let's go to Genesis chapter 10.
Edomite make Gog and Magog. They took over that particular nation. Why are you? Anyway, let's just get the debate. Hey, how about this? Since you won't let me talk, you'll let me talk in a formal debate, right? You won't be able to talk over me. Let's get the debate. Are you scared? Do you have a problem debating women?
You failed a simple question.
You said all the Hebrews are scared of you. I answered you. No, I answered you. They took over that nation. When we talk, okay, I'm gonna try again. When we talk about Gog and Magog in the prophecy, that is Esau. That is no longer the actual line of Japheth. Now, I can get the debate with you, Ron, if you're not scared. No, that's weird. They're saying Nepal, relax. What? I'm not the one that's freaking out. Listen, you want to get the? Let me ask you a question. Do you want? I'm not embarrassed. You're the one freaking out. You're the one screaming and not letting me talk. I'm not embarrassed of myself.
You finally answered.
I did answer the question.
Esau is the father of Gomer, Magog, Meshach, Tubal, and Togarmah. And everybody that knows their Bible in Genesis chapter 10, you are incorrect.
Okay.
Pull it up.
I really didn't hear. Actually, I didn't even hear you, to be honest. I didn't hear you because I was trying to get to. Look, what I was trying to get out is this. You're saying they're Japheth, and I know they're not Japheth in the prophecy of Ezekiel. That's what I was trying to say. Maybe I said some things that, you were getting a little hyped up. They're not. That is Esau in the prophecy, even though you say it's Japheth.
It even says Togarmah, the son of Gomer. It even says Togarmah, the son of Gomer. It doesn't say Togarmah, the son of Esau.
Yeah, because
we have to start using our brain.
Okay, well, let's get the debate then. I'm gonna let you close out and think about it. You won't debate me because you don't want a woman to beat you up.
You failed the question.
No, I didn't. Question. No, I told you. I told you.
If it says Togarmah, the son of Gomer, what do you think that means?
You're talking about Japheth, right?
Exactly. But you said that these nations are of the lineage of Esau?
Because you're not listening. They took in the prophecy with Gog and Magog, they took over the nation. It's not Japheth.
I know exactly what you're referring to in the book of Yasha. Just because Kittim takes over and subjugates Esau or Zepho does not mean that that nation becomes Esau. Just because the British came and subjected the Native American Indians and the Negroes under their domination does not mean that the Negroes and Native American Indians became the British.
Okay,
Just because another nation subjugates another nation under their dominance and control does not mean that they become them. Does not mean that. Y'all gotta stop running with that. Does not mean that. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that Esau became Japheth. It's not in the Old Testament. So y'all can run to the book of Joshua, but even the book of Joshua proves you to be wrong. And even the Old Testament says Gomer, the son of Togarmah. It doesn't say Gomer, the son of Esau, because Esau took over the children of Japheth. It doesn't say that in the Bible. It gives us nations that are the lineage of Japheth.
Okay.
Esau is nowhere in Revelation chapter 20 or in Ezekiel chapter 38. You know this.
All right, now can I speak? Because I was driving and it got a little crazy. Okay, let me ask you a question. How can there be Ashkenazi Jews? How can it be Japheth, Ashkenaz, the children of Japheth, and then Judah? Like, how can they be two nations?
I don't understand your question. I mean,
my question is this, because you're saying, because I'm trying to point something out for you. They take over, they claim land, they claim lineage that is not theirs. That is their MO. That's how their mode of operations, operandum. Okay, like that is how they move. So you can keep on saying, who is this? And you can scream it. But God, that prophecy is not talking about the true line of Japheth. And I can prove it.
Whatever you say.
No, not whatever I say. Watch this. You want the debate? You say everybody's running from you.
No problem. You couldn't even answer the.
So you're scared. So you don't want the debate.
No, the pod. You got to understand that.
So do you want the debate or not?
The pod. You are not on my scholastic level to debate.
Oh, I'm not. How am I not on your scholastic level and you don't even know the history of Gog and Magog and Japheth? How am I not on your level? Let me ask you another question. No, I'm not on your level. I'm not on your level, but you're saying white people aren't responsible for slavery? Come on, bro. Come on. You sat here and told the entire black audience. No, hold on. You're talking over me. Wait, I'm not on your level, but you told a whole black audience that white people aren't the only ones responsible for slavery, that Africans and Arabs are also equally responsible. You're not on my level.
That's true.
Yeah, so you're not on your level. Okay, I'm not on your level, so you're scared to debate me?
You want to know why? Because in actual history, the Arabs, the Hausa, the Fulani, the Tuaregs.
We already know all that.
The white men, they were all a part of the slavery process.
Who made the most money?
I don't care who made the most money.
I know you don't.
Ask me a question of who participated in slavery.
Who ran the business?
Slavery.
Who ran the business?
The Arabs, the Indians, the Persians. Yes.
So Persians and Arabs over here in America whipping us on our backs, making us pick cotton. You're tripping, bro. Take the debate or never say anything else about Hebrew Israelites in One West.
Arab slave trade took Bantu people as slaves.
You sure I'm worried? You worry a lot about Africans over in Africa. What about blacks? I thought it was Hebrews to Negroes.
We have the same DNA. We come from Africa, don't we?
Oh, no. We're over here in America. You asked me a question. We can't both talk at the same time. You asked me a question. Why do you talk over me? You have no respect. I'm trying to answer you. Don't talk over me, please. We got to America on the European slave ships, and guess what? We're the only ones that are dead. Why are you talking over me, sir? Why are you talking over me? We came to America on European slave ships, and we made money for Europeans. They made billions of dollars. Oh my God, you're still talking over me. They built I'm going to try again. They built empires off of our blood, sweat, and tears. And guess what? We were disconnected. That's why you and I are up here having an argument about who we are. We were disconnected from Africa, unlike those who are still in the land and they know who they are. So we are a unique people. So the answer is yes, we're all Black, but they don't have the same history and the same trauma and the same plight that we do. That is why we are the people of the book. You agree, right? Deuteronomy 28. But you think that everybody was responsible for slavery. Interesting. I bet people who supported your film didn't know that you blame Africans and Arabs equally as you blame white people for the slave trade. I bet they didn't know that, right?
It's in my book, in my movie. It's there.
Okay, so who else is beneath you? You said Nathanyel's beneath you. I'm beneath you. So he's not beneath you, but he still couldn't answer your question, right?
I challenge the debate top Israelites.
Oh, top Israelites. So you're a cloud chaser.
No, because I'm not an amateur. I'm not an amateur.
You're not an amateur again. Gog and Magog of that prophecy are Esau, and I will do a whole presentation on it. Since you're running, I'll still do a presentation on it and show it. Gog and Magog are not of the Japheth line in that Ezekiel prophecy. So you could say what you wanted. You could keep cloud chasing, call Billy Carson, try to get with Wes, whatever Huff. I'm going to keep on telling the truth over here in this channel. Okay, so you can cloud chasing Nathanyel and cloud chasing Tazariak, people who don't want to sit down with you because they think you're beneath them. And I'm going to tell the truth, and I'm going to show that you don't know what you're talking about, saying that Japheth is in the prophecy. Again, I'll close with this. Everybody, who is Jacob's adversary, Japheth or Esau? It's Esau, but this brother is confused because he's trying to save the white man, the African man, but he has the nerve to come in and play in our face and our emotions and talk about Hebrews to Negroes. Shame on you. I'll let you go ahead and close out because I got to close the show out, but look forward to tuning in and seeing me rebut what you said since you're too afraid to debate a low-level woman Israelite. You're looking for that clout. I can't be mad at you. Go ahead and close out. Thank you for answering my questions.
Okay. So like I said before, and I did a video on this, on Son of Shemites and Orphans. I debunked this myth that Esau became all the white races and the children of Japheth just disappeared because Esau overtook them. That is a fallacy. It's a falsehood. It's a lie. It makes no logical sense. And when the Most High told Ezekiel to prophesy against these nations, the Most High is not confused. He didn't have to say prophesy against Esau because Esau has replaced the children of Japheth because all these Edomite men just impregnated all the women of Japheth prior to him even being born. So prior to Esau even being born, all of these Japheth children, Paras, Magog, Meshach, Tubal, Tiras, Gomer, all of these nations of Japheth that were having daughters and sons for hundreds, if not thousands of years prior to Esau even being born. Esau comes on the scene, and a couple of his guys, they impregnate all of the women of Japheth. Now we eliminated Japheth, it's all Esau now. But the Most High said in Ezekiel 38, prophesy against these other nations, not Esau, Gomer, Magog, Meshach, Tubal, Togarmah, the son of Gomer, not Esau, the son of Gomer. So we have to look at it, what the Bible actually says. And these nations, they have their own dwelling areas. And and they leave their dwelling areas to come to the land of the Israelites. And these dwelling areas are the areas where we see these nations coming all to the land of sub-Saharan Africa. We have the Germanic Europeans, we have the white Jews, the white Arabs, the Chinese, the Russians, and the East Indians, all coming where? To Israel? Nope. Coming to sub-Saharan Africa to spoil, to loot, to steal, to plunder, to prey upon the people, meaning the Israelites, in the land of Canaan, and all the things that the Bible says that they have: silver and gold, livestock, land. It's all in Ezekiel 38. Read the chapter Ezekiel 38, and you'll understand these things. And from the beginning to the end, and this is why I put all of this in the movie Hebrews to Negroes 3, volume 3. Start with volume 1, go to volume 2, go to volume 3 on h2ntv.com. And I don't care what anybody says. That was on her earlier, God killer. He said the scientific community does not accept you and what you're teaching. And I said to him that a part of the scientific fields, you have anthropology, archaeology, linguistics, genetics, hematology. I can go to various levels. I can go to dermatology, I can go to hematology, I can go to trichology, and prove to people that using the scientific fields that I just mentioned, that we can prove that we are the Israelites and we are not the Egyptians, and the Edomites did not take over all of the children of Japheth, because it says that Kittim took over Zepho, and the Edomites, or the Zepho and the Edomites took over Chittim, or subjugated or conquered or ruled over Esau and Zepho, or slaved Esau and Zepho. No. So, people can keep thinking dogmatically and ignore research and information and facts, and keep believing what they want to believe, which is a theory based on no evidence and no facts, and they're not using logic and critical thinking. Or you can start to accept the facts and the proof and the evidence and the research and the receipts and the sources, because I have it all. It's on h2ntv.com. And that's the reason why these top Israelite leaders, these guys know the same books that you guys are reading out of, the book of Yasher, Jubilees, the Apocrypha, the Bible. Then why are these top Israelite leaders afraid to debate Ron Dolton?
Same reason you're afraid to debate me. They're scared of you. And you're scared of me.
You do not know more than Bishop Nathanyel.
No, but I do know this, brother. You said a lot. Do you mind if I say something?
You did not know more than all these Israelite leaders. Therefore, if they're running, then what makes you think?
Do you mind if I speak? I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you two questions. Doesn't the scripture say that the most, and I'm paraphrasing, the most base, the roughest, the lowest person will bring down those who think they know so much? I could get the scripture done. That's rhetorical. I want to ask you a question. In 1st and 2nd Maccabees, when they talk about the Macedonians and all of the history of Ptolemy and Alexander the Greek, do you agree that those particular people were the Edomites, or you don't believe that either?
The progenitor of the Greek and Roman people are not Edomites. No.
Oh, wow. I could see why you're scared to debate me. And I'm not being funny. I don't mind, Ron. A lot of people are scared to debate me, and then they try to use stuff like she's a woman, or you're the one that started, I matched your energy. I have a lot of respect for you as far as a person, but up here right now in this conversation, you kind of lost your composure, but that's okay. It happens to the best of us. When you said I'm not, wait, let me finish. I've been debating since 2019 professionally. And I think you can tell that I pretty much can hold my own in a debate. I'm not begging for a debate from you, but don't do all that, oh, you're a lower debater and all this, because I'm challenging you and you're sweating. So that's a sign. You weren't sweating up there with Nathanyel because he didn't even know how to answer you. I'm going to finish. You got to let me get this out, please. You say that they're not the Edomites, but they are, in fact, a different nation than Kemet, right? You agree that those people, Ptolemy, who came in and started ruling Kemet, you agree that they weren't Egyptians. They weren't Kemetic people, correct?
Why would I think that white people are Egyptians? Why would I do that?
I'm going to ask you again. That was a different nation, right? They weren't Kemetic, correct?
No, the Greeks were descendants of Japheth. The
Okay,
Egyptians are
got it. We know you think that. But so they came in and they took over and started ruling. I can prove in my presentation, because I know you, I get it. You're a macho man. You don't want a woman to beat you up in a debate. So I'm going to get in here soon, probably this weekend, and show everybody the progenitors of those people, of Ptolemy. It goes back to the line of Esau. It's real easy. This is like basic Bible and Bible information and basic archaeology 101. This isn't even hard. This isn't even hard information.
Who's the father of David? Who is the father of Javan? Who's the father of David?
Now you're asking me who's the father of Japheth?
No, who's the father of Javan? Javan.
I believe you're going to say that the Greeks, and then you're going to say it goes back to Japheth. I got you. I got all that. We get it. We get it that you believe they're Japheth. I know your position, but it's flawed because you don't want to admit that through the Bible. I'm going to show people how this particular group of people continue to. You're right. They mix. You were right about that. They mix them to, sir, I'm almost finished. I'm almost getting this whole sentence out. They mix themselves with different nations. They come in and they take, even the scripture says they don't respect borders. I'm paraphrasing. The actual scripture says Esau doesn't respect borders. He comes in, he changes up, he takes over nations, he changes everything. He changes time. But now I'm actually, when I walk away from this, it's not even that you think that Japheth is the adversary, the antithesis of Jacob. It's that you said the white man bears the same guilt as Arabs and Africans, the same when it comes to the slave trade. That's that's where I'm flabbergasted. Like, what man from America that is black, the progeny, the descendant of a slave, and then he says he stands for his people, would even try to equally blame any other nation than the actual white man for slavery, for the transatlantic slave trade. It's beyond me that you said that, but it's all good. It's all good, my friend. I'll let you have the last word for sure this time, but look forward to. Thank you for letting me get up here and prove that you are only debating people that you think you can beat. And it's all love, but it's interesting that you just don't want to debate me.
Okay, so the lineage of Javan, aka the Grecians, did not start with Alexander the Great in 300 BC. The Greeks and descendants of Javan did not start at 300 BC. So we have to get that clear, that these sons of Japheth, they didn't just start at 400 BC, 300 BC. There were European civilizations, or you would call them Proto-Indo-Europeans, PIE, that lived and had civilizations for thousands of years before Esau was even born. From Western Europe to Eastern Europe to Central Asia, the Pontic Steppes, even to Far Asia with the Chinese civilization. So when you guys are saying that the Moabites and the Ammonites are the Chinese and the Esau's are white races, it does not line up with history, real history. It does not line up with genetics. It does not make any logical sense. And I know why people are thinking this for whatever reason, but I'm sorry, but prophecy itself is proving to be what we know it to be, because if you look at the Bible, it's telling us and showing us who are these nations that are coming against the true land of Canaan. And guess what? If these nations all were under one paternal lineage, and that's Esau, and Esau impregnated all these women, and we wouldn't see all these different nations that are in sub-Saharan Africa with different paternal haplogroups all coming to Africa,
Okay.
Israel.
I got to
So
do it. You hear me? Go ahead, and I'm going to change that out. I'm going to take that out. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I thought I was muted. I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to do multitask. All right, Ron, nice to talk to you again. Oh, and another thing too, I wanted to also, but I don't know if you because you said you're only looking for the, I don't know, the top of the food chain, but I also wanted to debate you, or at least discuss Moses being an actual Egyptian. When you talk about the mother of the son can actually make the person actually a pharaoh. I agree with that. And I've been doing the research that Moses, even in the scripture, it says that his mother, whether you want to claim it as adoption or not, his mother was a Kemetic woman. So he was actually a pharaoh. But yeah, anyway, that's pretty interesting. And I don't know. I don't. I'm laughing because you're like, I don't debate anybody beneath me. I go for the top. Like that sounded kind of strange. Like, you know, it didn't sound, for me, it just sounded like, why would you be looking for the top people if you're just trying to get the truth out?
If a young guy comes to me at the grocery store and says, "You're Ron Dolton," and I say, "Yeah," and he tells me his name, he says, "I want to debate you." I'm like,
I'm not. Let me stop you. I'm actually one of the best debaters over here. And I know you think because you made that movie, that you're somebody so much better, but you've never had a real debate. You debated one time with Deacon Hakah. You're not on my level as a debater, clearly. And as far as the scholarship, I don't see anything you've said that I'm not familiar with. So don't come over here condescending, because people can act like I'm disrespectful, but you are being very shady because your feelings are hurt like every other man. When I busted your piñata today, you want to start being condescending. But before you're like, I'll debate anybody. All these Hebrews are scared of me. But now that you got your head chopped off, figuratively, now you're up here like, if a young guy comes up to you, you're in my house. I'm not in your house. I'm the HOK champion. So don't come over here with a young guy walked up to me and asked me, can he get my autograph? You did this. So peace to you. I know Sonetter's coming in to save you, but you need to slow your roll with the disrespect, because I can see when I give it back, people don't like it. If you can't debate me, if you're scared to debate me, that's fine. It's all love. We'll be cool. But don't come in here talking about if a young guy comes up to me. Don't do that. Don't do that kind of stuff over here, because we do information. And sa.neter, he's up here talking about, you're beneath me. Oh, I just debate the top. It's all good, brother. You're not the first one to run. You got your track shoes on. You were wrong about Japheth. I can do a presentation. You can watch it. Maybe you'll change your mind and come off your high horse and get down into the toughest environment and get busted. Okay?
All right.
Yeah, come on in here and save him, sa.neter.
I'm not saving nobody. Number one, the toughest environment. He could say he's the best and all of that. What we got to do is get the debate. Nobody's going to want to take a debate with people just, I mean, damn, man. Chess, not checkers, man. Chess, not checkers. Anyway, we got Naphtali in the back.
Lord have mercy.
I thought you had to close out.
sa.neter, this is Naphtali. Naphtali believes that the Canaanites are white. So she says, so let's just say the Egyptians are black, the Kushites are black, the Puttites are black. These are the sons of Ham. So Ham had 4 sons. 3 of his sons are black. The other son, Canaan, is white, the white race. That right there is a major fail. Major fail. You can't sit here and say that the Egyptians are black, but then the Kushites are white. In the Hebrew
Bible. So let me ask you, Brother Ron, are you willing to take on Nepal? or what? Talk to me on the topic.
No, the part, just like Naphtali, I want the top leaders in the Israelite community that are pushing this Esau, the white man, the white races, Ammon, Moab as the Chinese, all this nonsense that thousands of the Israelites are believing because their leaders are teaching this. The Naphtali and Nepal, I don't think you guys have a congregation that people are following and you're leading and teaching them worldwide, like IUIC, GOCC, ICPK, GMS. We all know these camps and their leaders, and they all know who I am. But I'm not going to sit here and any woman that comes up on the stage and says, I want to debate Ron Dolton, I'm going to give them that time. I got 9 kids. I'm in Africa. I'm doing a lot of things here. I don't have time to be debating women after women after women about things.
Hey, Ron, let me ask you, how is it out there living in South Africa? How long you been living out there?
Since 2022.
How is it? How is it like?
It's freedom. It's great. It's way better than America, and I'm saving a lot of money. I'm living free. I don't have to worry about getting shot and killed by the police or arrested and thrown in jail or racial profile. I'm just living.
Okay,
I mean, Africa, you'll see.
Yeah, that's peace there, brother. Hey, is another brother by the name of Selah Shalom. He was here earlier questioning you. He was on the computer. I think he's pretty good as well. But Jabari is one of our top tier debaters. Nepal, second ranked debater. But there's a lot of top tier debaters over here. But Ron, you know your stuff. No wonder a lot of Israelites are afraid of you. But I told you, not over here though. The people over here not afraid of you. They ready to jump in. But I can see that.
Yeah, and I'll help, and I'll stood my ground 10 toes, because the thing at the end of the day, they can say the scientific community does not agree with you, but I can give you anthropology, archaeology, genetics, linguistics, dermatology, trichology, hematology. I can go to the levels of your melanin, to your hair, to your blood types, to your genetics, your haplogroups. I can go to the linguistics. I can go to sociology, traditions and customs, and religion, and all sort of stuff. I can go to archaeology. I could take it all there and package it together.
Yeah. See, these Israelites today, they're not ready for that. But anyway, I got to close out. Naphtali, you came in too late. Maybe on the next one, because I got the roll, Naphtali. So, Ron, close us out. We out of here, man. Close us out, brother.
Okay, well, I kind of already did, but for anybody that's listening, and I said it all the time, and he already said it earlier about Captain Desariat and Elder Wakar and Bishop Nathanyel. We already know about that situation. At the end of the day, the reason why a lot of people are afraid to confront the truth is because their followers, they need to keep them, sheltered and confined and stay on track to listen to what we have to say. So if we say that Esau, the entire white race, and Moab and Ammon are the Chinese and the Japanese and the Asians, and the land of Israel, the holy land, the land of milk and honey, the glory of all the land, the wide, fat, abundant land is modern day Israel, and Africa is just a land of Ham, then they're gonna keep teaching that and avoid any confrontation where this teaching can be debunked, refuted by somebody else like me. Yeah, that's the simple plain reason why none of the rabbis and the Christian pastors are not going to debate on who are the real Israelites, black people or the white people, because the chief top rabbis and Jewish scholars, they don't want to be seen on live TV or YouTube being defeated by the very man that they tried to ban his movies and books from Amazon and Walmart and Target and Barnes and Nobles. And the very same churches that want to keep their congregations asleep to who they are and where the true Holy Land is, these top pastors like T.D. Jakes and Bishop Jenkins and whoever else you could think of, they're not going to come and debate myself to be seen on live TV, proving to them maybe they believe the white Jews are the real Jews and the real Holy Land is in Israel. and all this stuff. No, they gotta keep these guys that have the truth over here and keep your followers and your members thinking one thing and the only thing for hundreds of years till the end, because we know that members and followers equate to money. Members and followers and YouTube subscribers equates to money.
All right. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. It's 10:45, 10:35 where you at right now. 10:35 at night. So I want to say thank you, brother. And now I see why there's a lot of Israelites scared to jump in the ring with you. You bringing that fire, you bringing that information. It's crazy. All right. All right. So peace and blessings. Thank you, brother. Hopefully you'll be coming on soon enough. When we're going to get you and Jabari to talk, or maybe you and Selah or somebody. All right. So peace and blessings to you, you and the family. Thank you, brother.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Damn.